living on a disk, floating through space, with a tiny sun.
Hey, I'm FTFE, welcome back to the channel that does to stupidity what Ezra Miller has done to his career and the possibility of a second Flash movie. Tonight, I am looking forward to tonight. We have a special guest Flat Earther. A Flat Earther who you've probably heard more times than you would think, because every time I play my outro music, you're hearing some of his work, because he accidentally wrote my outro music for me. His name is Mr. Cheswick. And we're going to introduce him now. Mr. Cheswick, hello, welcome to the channel. How are you doing? Oh, no, yeah, wait. Sorry, there we go. Yeah, sorry. I forgot to unmute you for a second there. Hello, welcome to the channel. How are you doing?
Okay, folks, how's it going? I'm Mr. Cheswick, and I've got a few questions about the globe, stuff like that. So let's see how it goes, eh?
Nice. So you've been around this argument for, well, as long as me, because pretty much as soon as I started my channel, you wrote some excellent music for me.
Well, I wouldn't say that, like, but...
When did you first kind of think that the Earth might be flat rather than a globe?
Well, it's not a case of me thinking that the Earth's flat, mate. It's a case of, like, questioning the globe, if you know what I mean. Like,
right, okay.
So that's the angle that I come from.
So you don't really claim to know what it is, you just have questions that make you doubt what you're told.
I haven't got a clue.
Right?
I haven't got a clue what it is.
Okay, excellent. So when you say questions, what kind of questions?
Well, honestly, you'll probably find, Craig, that my questions like are really simple, like childlike almost. So, like, you know, these are like I kind of think that you can make this like discussion as simple or as complicated as you want. Me personally, I prefer to keep it simple so that everybody can understand where we're all coming from. Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm happy with that. So, what are the questions that you have?
Well, should we start off with something really simple? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So, have you got access to, like, if I asked you to search for something, can you search that and then present it to the audience? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just get that
so
set up.
I'll start with something easy. Can you open up Google Images now, please, and then
show
me what you would say is a real photograph of the Earth?
Right. Okay. Right, give me one sec. I've lost my screen. There it is. Display one. Right, so do you want me to type anything specific, or do you just want me to show you what is a real image of the globe Earth?
Okay, we'll just type in real photograph of Earth from space.
Real
and then
photo
just see what it brings
of
up.
Earth from space.
Yep.
Oh, well, I see the very first image, which is this one, which is one I instantly recognize. Do you know what this image is? Yeah.
Yep.
So the first one it shows us is the blue marble.
Okay, so would you say that is a photograph of Earth? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what do you know about this image?
It was taken in 1972, was it?
Yeah. Do you know?
Or is
what
this
it was
one of the later versions?
Do you know how it was taken? Who took it?
Well, see, I don't personally believe that it's a photograph. You know, it looks more like a what I'd call a composite image. Yeah. So, like, you know, there's a difference between a photograph and a composite image. Yeah.
Well, I mean, photographs are all composites, really. Every
but,
photograph's
like,
a composite of like multiple colors and stuff. But okay. So I guess the question is, do you know what is claimed was the method of taking this photo?
Not really, no.
So it was taken.
I've read things in like documentaries and stuff like that, but I don't know for sure. Yeah.
So I think it was Eugene Kerman that took it. Although there is some dispute as to actually who took the photo, but this was taken with a physical camera, a Hasselblad camera.
Okay.
You know, so and that created the image on it's like a negative that they have to then go and develop, right? You know,
Okay, right. Yeah.
and editing software like Photoshop and things like that didn't exist until I think Photoshop was 1994. The original slides that this exists on, that this was taken, still exist in the museum. You know, you can actually go and view the slides that this was taken on, that they developed this photo from. The only thing that's edited when you see this video in general is the orientation. The orientation they were when they took this photo, it's upside down as to what you see here. You know, and that's the only general bit of editing you see when you see this photo. But that's a real photograph of Earth.
Okay, right. In your like perception and understanding, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've had no reason to believe it's anything other than a real photograph.
Right, yeah. Okay, that's fair. So, can you show me any other photographs that you would say is real as well, or is it just this one?
No, I could show you a lot. I mean, there was actually another one taken in missions a couple of years before that's very similar to this. I could show you. I could show you pictures from Himawari 8 that are taken every 10 seconds from the Discover satellite.
Okay, well, just like, you know, like just to keep it like simple, we've got Google Images open. Can you just like scroll through them and then sort of say, yeah, this one's real. That looks a bit like cartoonish, that kind of thing. Yeah. Well, see, we've come back off it. Yeah.
So this is a good one. You know, this is an image from the Discover satellite. You know, which is just a camera.
Okay, so that's 2. So is there any more?
I could go through countless of them. A lot of the images you see are going to be artist impressions or.
Right. Well, this is the problem, CGI, Craig. You see, this is the problem. Like, there seems to be more artist impressions of the globe than there are photographs. Would you agree or disagree with that?
But that's on Google possibly, but that's just Google because it returns an image for you. You know, it will look at the words that you've asked for and then go Earth picture. Here you go, without really filtering the results that much for you. You know, that's why you can't just go on Google, search for something and go, oh, that proves it. You've got to look at what Google presents you. Because, a lot of the pictures will be CGI, but that's because CGI pictures exist. I mean, you see all the stuff going around us, right? I made all this CGI planets and stuff that are orbiting around us.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that there isn't real images.
Right. So would you agree or disagree then that there's more composited CGI, cartoony kind of images of the Earth than there is real photographs? Would you agree or disagree with that?
Honestly, I wouldn't know. There's a lot of CGI pictures. There's a lot of real pictures. But the fact that that there's a new
Craig,
image
there's a
take
problem there, mate. Because
let me answer the question for you a bit better, right?
Right, go on.
The fact that things like the Discover satellite, and Himawari 8 take new images so often would, for me, say that there is much more. A much larger number of real images of Earth, but they just might be all in one place. There may be more sites on the internet that are showing, CGI or artist impressions, but that doesn't mean that overall there is more CGI pictures. But that's not an issue because that's just the internet. That's just how it works, Yeah,
well, see, it's kind of an issue for me, you see, because I can't seem to find many. Now, like, even if I conditionally accept those first 2 images that you say are real, right, what I want to see is like more, so I can say, okay, well, there does seem to be an overwhelming amount of real photographs compared to composites and CGI and all this kind of stuff.
Well, like I said,
Himawari, can't understand where I'm coming from,
Himawari satellite takes like a new image every 10 seconds. It's you
well,
can
this is what I've been told, but I've seen them and they don't look like all that convincing. But I've got something else, right? Should we try the official NASA image library then and see what we can find on there, yeah?
Of what in particular?
Of real photographs of the Earth from space. That's what I'm specifically looking for in this first question, mate.
So you want real pictures of Earth from space from NASA?
Yeah. If you go to the NASA
why particularly NASA? I mean, I don't tend to use NASA as evidence.
Well, I'd kind of assume that NASA would be like the top boys on all this kind of stuff, you know?
Well, NASA aren't. There's a lot of other. NASA don't have weather satellites and stuff, which are more likely to be taking photographs of Earth. NASA are a space agency. They're not. Although they do have satellites and stuff, there's other agencies that own satellites that take more pictures of Earth than probably NASA do. NASA took the famous images like the Blue Marble and stuff, and then you have Rob Simmons putting together the later Blue Marble for the composite and stuff. But there's a lot of other people rather than just NASA. NASA's job isn't to take photos of the Earth.
Right. Yeah. Okay. But if we could just like take a look on the NASA image library, and then if you could put that up on the screen so everyone can kind of take a look at it, and then
where do you want me to go in particular?
You could
to
present
NASA's website,
to me, say the Himawari 8. If you go to the official NASA image library, yeah, let's see if I can find it. Mine. So NASA images, NASA image library. It's like that. Oh yeah, so we've just go to NASA image and video library.
NASA image and video library.
Yeah, and then it'll come up like search for EG Orion, and then you can just have a little search on there, and then Craig, you could say present to me the place where I could find some real images. Yeah.
Well, I've already shown you some.
Well, 2, yeah. But
again, there's literally millions and millions and millions because there's some being taken every day by satellites constantly all of the time.
Okay, so how many is that on the NASA? Is that one of 378? And that's images, videos, and audio. So if you just untick audio and videos, so it's just on the images, yeah? That's it, yeah. And then search again, and then we'll just see what we find, kind of thing.
Results.
So what's that?
Separate images of the Earth and Moon were combined to generate this view. So this is separate actual pictures of the Earth and the Moon, then put together. What's this?
Okay, so these are
this was taken by the Galileo spacecraft in 1990. So that's an actual image of Earth. Again,
yeah, but is that an image or a photograph? See, because there's a difference between an image and a photograph. Yeah.
What would you say is the difference between an image and a photograph?
Well, an image would have been like sort of edited. A photograph will be raw, if you know what I mean. So it's in its raw format.
Photographs are never edited. If it's not been edited, it's a photograph.
Well, not so much that, but I'm just looking for something in its raw.
This color image of the Earth was obtained by NASA's Galileo spacecraft on December 11th, 1990, when the spacecraft was about 1.5 million miles from Earth. This one was about 1.6 million miles from Earth, also from Galileo. What we got here. This is a composite image of South Africa and the surrounding oceans, captured by 6 orbits from a Polar Orbiting Partnership spacecraft. So this particular image here was generated after they orbited the Earth 6 separate times and then took that data and put it together to make this picture.
Right. See, like what we're actually discussing here is composite images, right? I'm not looking for the composite image.
This one's a composite, but this one's not. Yeah, I mean, technically, all photographs are composites. That's because of the way photographs are taken. But this is a real picture. This is a real picture. What we got here. This is a real picture. This is Earth, October 6th, NASA, October 9th, NASA Juno spacecraft flew past Earth using our home planet gravity. So that's a real picture. This is a real picture, Earth and Moon from 114 million miles. Well, a real photograph, right? If that's the way you want to do it. I mean,
so you're claiming that these are real photographs.
That's what it's saying here. They're not artist impressions, or they literally tell you what they are. Now, obviously, this is not a real picture. But this isn't a composite. This isn't a what you want to say a composite. This is an actual picture from an actual camera. So is this. So is this.
It tells you, look, this image, this this image,
image is just a word they use. Image is just a word they use to say that this is an image. Right now, I am showing you an image. I can take a photograph and show you an image on screen of the photograph. That's all it's saying.
Yeah, but this is
photograph
in its raw format would be a photograph, not an image. Yeah.
No, that's not how that's not how they describe things. You know, that's talking semantics.
Yeah, but,
this is a color image, and it was obtained by the Galileo spacecraft. You know, from a camera.
Right. Okay.
You know, it's still a photograph and an image at the same time. But you know, again, it doesn't really prove anything. Even if these were all composite images, but they're not. Some of them are photographs. Some of them are composites. You know, by putting things together. Some are clearly just weird-looking jellyfish. You know, some are clearly CGI.
See, think about it, right? See, from my perspective, right, this is the official NASA image library, and in all honesty, mate, I'm not that impressed. You know, I'd expect to see thousands of with crystal clear 4K HD.
With all due respect, Mr. Cheswick, NASA's job isn't to impress you. They really couldn't give a fuck about impressing you. NASA's job is not to prove anything to anybody.
£60 million a day off people, so
Well, they're not taking anything from anybody. They're being given money by the government.
Yeah, and that comes from the taxpayer.
Yeah, that's the tax, but the government
so pays them. Money, isn't it?
No, it's not people's money. It's the government's money that they then.
Oh, it's the people's money because it comes from the people.
Yeah, but then they give it to the government, so then it's the government's money.
No. The people don't give it to the government. The government extract it.
yeah. So then it's the government's money. Once they've got it, it's the government's money. That's how taxes work. Yeah. And you know, NASA, 60 million a day. They've got to pay 17,000 employees. They've got to run over 1,000 buildings, heating, maintenance, etc., etc.
Of course, mate.
They have to pay contractors.
Course,
Over 85% of their budget in the past 5 years has gone to contractors like SpaceX. They've got to research and develop. They've got to maintain the International Space Station.
Can we just
you know, that 60 million a day isn't actually a lot for what they do. The amount they have, the percentage they have out of the American budget is a lot less now than it used to be.
Yeah, but my kind of point is for £60 million a day, I'd at least expect a good range of photographs on the official NASA website.
I mean, there is a good range of photographs. It's just not impressive to you.
Honestly, I'm not that impressed, Craig. I've seen better pictures that people take with their own cameras from Earth, average cameras, where they take real good photographs of the moon and stuff like that, crystal clear, 4K, all that kind of stuff. And that's taken from inside of Earth's atmosphere.
Images. There's lots and lots and lots of images from NASA. But again, NASA is just one space agency. We've got many other ways of viewing Earth. But also, like I said, NASA don't care about impressing you. They really have no interest in impressing you.
Of course, right. Little old me. Yeah.
Or anyone. That's not their job. Their job's not to impress people.
Yeah. But could you sort of show me these JAXA 8 ones then, and then we'll if you could show me the best photographs of Earth that you've got, and
best photographs of Earth. That's a very objective term. If you personally want to know what my favourite photograph of Earth, it's the one taken by a spacecraft.
Craig, I'd like to see a succession of bang, 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 there's one, there's one, there's one, there's one, there's one. Kind of like that, you know what I mean? So quick succession where I can go, well, yeah, okay, I can see why you.
I mean, I could show you a time lapse of a Himawari, thing over many.
Yeah, no, but I've seen them, mate. And honestly,
what do you want then? Because I can literally show you the Earth, over months and months and months. What is it you want me to show you?
Point is, mate, point is that when I go to Google Images or the NASA image library, I'm not that impressed.
Who cares?
Yeah, okay.
Honestly, who cares if you're impressed or not? It doesn't matter if you're impressed or not.
Of course, but I'm saying for the supposed best
from
space agency in the world, I'm not impressed.
Okay, cool. They really don't. I'm sure that their feelings are going to be very hurt that you're not impressed.
Well, no, I'm sure they're not getting £60 million a day, but
again, that's
just
not really a lot. That's not like there's not piles of money sitting around. That 60 million a day is used for things. There's nothing left over at the end of the year.
Well, you'd think they could.
Plus, what about the American military that get like 10 times, 20 times as much as them or something?
Yeah. All right, mate. Well, should we move on to point 2 then, or have you got anything?
No, I mean, the thing is, I hear this quite a lot from flat earthers.
Yeah.
Oh, they're all CGI, blah blah blah, but they're not. The very first image I found when you told me to search was a real image of Earth, and then we went onto the NASA library and there's
all the
real
rest of them, mate.
images of Earth.
They're embarrassing.
But a lot of them aren't from NASA. A lot of them are just artist impressions. A lot of pretty
yeah,
pictures.
But we went to the official NASA site and we still couldn't find much there that would say, well, yeah, that does look impressive.
Screen, like half of them were real pictures. Some of them were, composites. But again, NASA do not care about impressing anyone. Honestly, they don't give a fuck.
Of course, you know what I mean?
So,
especially when they're showing us like stuff like that, they obviously can't be.
I mean, they show us plenty and, give us lots, a lot of the technology that we have in everyday life came from NASA's research and development, It's just NASA they do a job. They get told what to do by the government. That's it. They're not some secretive organization hiding things from everyone. They get told what to do. And, as an American agency, government agency, their budget has to be transparent. You can actually request to see their budget, and you can see where every cent that they get from the American government goes. And the majority of it recently goes to SpaceX.
Which is a private organization. So
yeah, it's a
what
contractor.
They're actually doing is they're taking money out of the taxpayer's pocket and then giving that to a private organization.
Yeah, because it's a contractor.
What they're doing.
It's just like paying any other contractor. But
but why would NASA subcontract out? Like, you kind of think that
because NASA don't
the big
have the research
space
and development
race,
that SpaceX
you wouldn't
have.
want everybody knowing about it. You'd kind of want to keep that stuff to yourself. That's what I'd assume from a corporate business sense. It doesn't make good sense to sort of hand over information to a private startup.
NASA aren't a private organization; they're a government agency, and SpaceX are a private company. Yeah, SpaceX are a private company that give their services to people that need it, like NASA.
Cars in space.
That was an amazing example of the payload capabilities of his.
You don't believe that, do you? I mean, come on, please.
I mean, it happened. A friend of mine tracked it in space.
Car in space. You honestly believe that?
Well, belief is irrelevant. I saw it happen, and I've seen the data.
But I've seen it, you know what I mean? And it's like, as I say, I'm not impressed, you know what I mean? But, obviously they're not out to impress.
I mean, a car in space isn't impressive. That's certainly impressive.
No, a car in space would be impressive.
Yeah, it was impressive. It happened.
Kind of real, you know what I mean? But, like, how did they get the car into space without doing any modifications to the car?
Like, what modifications would it need?
Well, like, tires, for instance, and all. Like, the tires would explode in the
why would they
vacuum
explode?
space, surely?
No, there's only a difference of 14.7 psi. Tires are, a lot higher than that. That difference of 14.7 psi from atmospheric pressure at sea level to zero, practically zero up in space is not going to be enough to make tires explode. Plus, I don't even think they had air in the tires.
Space is supposedly a vacuum, so
it's a near vacuum. Yeah, so there's a difference between space and down here. There's a difference of 14.7 psi. That's it. And tires. I know when I pump up my tires, it goes up. It's a near vacuum. Yeah, there's stuff in space, so it can't be a vacuum.
Okay, I was always led to believe that space is a vacuum, but if you say it's a near vacuum, yeah?
Yes, it's a very near vacuum, yeah. It's, 10 to the negative 17 torr. In deep space, you've got like one hydrogen atom per, cubic mile of space. That's it's not a vacuum, but it's very close to being a vacuum.
Right. Okay. Anyway, should we move on to say point number 2? Yeah. Like, obviously, there's things that I disagree with you on, obviously, but like kind of, as I said previously, I can't say it's really agreeing much on things, if you know what I mean, but we'll try. Shall we try at least, yeah?
Well, let's see where we can go. Let's move on to your next point then.
Okay, right. Again, simple as anything, right? What I'm trying to find is a real photograph of any one of the supposed 8,000 odd satellites up in space that are said to be whizzing around the globe at 17,500 miles an hour, or whatever the speed is.
You want a
So
picture
again,
of a satellite.
just like with the photographs of Earth, when I search for satellites in space, all I seem to find are cartoon depictions and satellites, CGI, and all of these supposed photographs.
Let me ask you a quick question. If I showed you a picture of a rainforest, do you think you could point out to me where all the ants are in that picture?
Nope.
Why is that?
Because they're too small to see.
Oh, right. So maybe that also applies to satellites in space, because, you know, space is really, really big and satellites in general are pretty small. If you just if you're in space and you take a photo out your window, like in the space station, you're not going to see a bunch of satellites whizzing around, because space is so big. Even with thousands of satellites orbiting the Earth, you know, you're not going to see them.
Yeah, but the ISS is supposedly only, what, 250 miles above the Earth, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, you know, surely to God, like, if you picture this, right, from Earth, you can zoom in to the moon with a P900 and see them craters in, like, really good detail. And the moon's,
there's definitely craters on the moon,
miles away.
100%.
So picture the ISS above the Earth at 250 miles away. Surely to God, you could zoom in with a P900 and see satellites whizzing around everywhere. That's the way I see it, mate. You know what I mean? But obviously,
again, you wouldn't, because space is so big and the satellites are so small.
But it's only 250 miles above the Earth, isn't it?
Yeah, but you can see the ISS. You can literally see the ISS go in front of
yeah, but I'm not talking about that, Craig. Right? I'm talking about, why can't you see any satellites whizzing around the Earth in any photograph of Earth or any footage from the ISS? How come?
Because the satellites are too small and space is really big. You would very rarely see a satellite. That's it.
Yeah, but see, Craig, I disagree with that, because from 250 miles above the Earth, which is where the ISS is supposedly hovering and stuff, or zooming around or whatever.
So if it's 250 miles,
P900 and just zoom in on a satellite, surely, you know what I mean? Because from Earth,
you know that there's
with a P900
app, right? And you can
zoom
track
in
satellites
to the moon
and then actually look at them.
Well, yeah, right. Well, basically, if you could sort of open up Google Images and then just like show like everybody photographs of satellites in space, and just see if we can find any. Yeah.
You want a photograph of a satellite in space?
Please, if you could, and if you could sort of present it to the audience so that everyone can kind of see what comes up, if you know what I mean. And then maybe you guys can understand why people like us are skeptical of it.
No, I genuinely don't understand. Honestly,
well, then, right.
It makes no sense to me.
Share the screen and then you'll see, because they're just all cartoons and stuff like that, mate.
Yeah, again, because you're not going to have many photos of satellites in space.
I mean, Craig, come on, please.
Again, you're
like
literally not going to have
cartoon stuff, man.
Yeah, again, because there's not going to be many photographs of satellites in space from other stuff in space. Because there isn't a bunch of satellites whizzing around right next to each other. Every satellite is thousands of miles away from another satellite, hundreds of miles away from another satellite. You know, and most satellites are so small that you're not going to be able to see them unless they're really, really close. And, you know, where the sun could reflect off of them so you can see them. Satellites are small. Space is really big. So there isn't, in general, going to be many photographs of satellites in space.
Okay, so, like, you know, you've just presented that there, and, like, you know, the cartoons, Craig. So what I'm trying to find...
Yeah, and I just explained why, right?
So are you saying that there are none?
No, I'm sure there is some, but they might be a bit difficult to find,
because... Show me one, then?
Not right off the top of my head. I don't have that available at the second, but I'm sure I could find some. In fact, I remember some were put in.
Okay, so
I remember some
please...
were put in. Hold on, let me finish. I remember some were put in my Discord. So if you give me, you know, a day or so, I could probably send you quite a few images of satellites in space. But the fact is,
Okay,
there
but you
isn't
can't
going to be
find
a
one now
bunch of
with
them.
the internet.
I probably it would take a while to search for. I don't know. But again, right,
Well,
there isn't going to be many photographs of satellites in space because there isn't many. You know, space is so big. Like, I genuinely am confused what you want from me. I could show you right now
a real
a
photograph
picture
of a satellite
of
in space. There's supposedly 8,000 of
you
them
want
zipping around the Earth at 17,000
I mean, I could
miles an
show
hour,
you
or
a
whatever it
picture
is,
right now
whatever speed
of
it is.
here we go. Here's a satellite in space. You know,
Okay, here we go. And what's this?
this is Hubble being serviced.
Well, Hubble's not a satellite, is it?
Yes, it is. It's orbiting Earth. That's the satellite.
No, it's a telescope, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a telescope on a satellite.
Well,
You know, the
what I'm
moon is
looking
also a
for-
satellite, right?
Okay, so it's
Anything
is
orbiting
this
the Earth
supposedly,
is a satellite.
where's this taken from?
Well,
Like, what
from the
kind
Hubble.
of distance?
It's right there at the Hubble. It's the Hubble being
Yeah, but
serviced.
what's
There's
the-
pictures of it.
Yeah, so what's the distance from the Hubble to the Earth?
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Okay. So is this
But again,
the only
right,
one, or have you got more?
I'm sure there's more. I'm sure there's more. But again, you know, if you were to look into, you know, the blackness of space here, all right, there may be some satellites in this image. All right. In fact, there probably is some satellites in this image, but they're so small and so far away that you can't see them because it's the same. And that's exactly why I asked you the question of, if I showed you a picture of a rainforest, could you point out to me all the ants in that picture? No, you couldn't, because the ants are too small and too far away.
I'm sure
And
if
I
you
can
had
tell
a
you there's
really
a
good
lot more
camera and
ants in a
zoomed in.
I can tell you there's a lot more ants in a picture of a rainforest than there is satellites orbiting Earth.
Okay, so, but can you still understand why I'm skeptical of
Not really, no,
satellite
because
space when we're struggling to find any, Craig, you know what I mean? And you're even saying yourself that you'd have to give yourself a day or two, you know what I mean? So
well,
we've just
if you wanted
opened
me to
up.
get you a bunch of images, I don't have that at hand right now. A group of pictures of satellites in space, but there is some that
You
exist.
can't
But
expect
like
when you
I
type
said
into
to you,
Google
but like-
images, satellites in space, that you'd
Yeah,
find
Google
shitloads.
isn't NASA. Google isn't NASA. Google doesn't.
Okay, then can we
you
go
know-
to NASA then and try and find some? Because I can't
Well,
find
I
any.
literally just gave you one of a picture of a
Yeah, but
satellite
that's
in space.
one, and like, you know, you don't really know the full kind of information on it. So
It's the
like,
Hubble
I'm
being
looking
serviced by the space shuttle.
like, I'm kind of looking to be blown away, Craig. Like, show me loads
Again,
of photos.
it's not my job
Mr.
to blow
Cheswick,
you
shut
away
the
by
fuck up.
pretty
Here's one,
pictures.
here's one, here's one, here's
You know,
one, here's one, here's one.
I
here's
don't
one.
use
Like that.
NASA as evidence that the Earth is a globe. I don't really care what NASA shows. You know, I don't need to do that because I can use physics and science to show that the Earth is a rotating globe. You know, I don't need to rely on Google search to prove to myself that the Earth is a globe.
Okay,
you know?
yeah, okay.
But the fact
Fair
is,
enough,
we have these pictures. They do exist.
Well, I can't see them, and you've not shown me them yet to make me say,
I
well,
did show
Craig,
you
yeah, you know, you've
well, I
shown
did
me
show
a
you one, right?
succession of like shit hot photographs, and where I can't really argue with it, but I feel as if that, like, you know, what you've presented hasn't been that
You know,
impressive.
if you had said to me earlier on when we talked about email, right, I'm going to ask you for a bunch of pictures of so and so, I could have had loads lined up for you, all right?
Yeah.
Because they're
Okay,
not that
that's-
hard to find. But I'm not going to just
Well,
spend.
I
this-
struggle.
I'm not going
I
to just
struggle
spend our
on
discussion
the NASA
searching
and Google. I can't find anything where I'd say, wow, that looks good.
Sorry, one sec. Okay. Now, I've been sent this video of satellites in space. In fact, yeah, I could actually show you quite a lot of pictures of videos of satellites in space, like SpaceX launching all its payloads. Is that not satellites in space?
Okay, let's see it then.
Well, this isn't that. This is the ISRO onboard camera view of 104 satellites being deployed. So the beginning of this video shows the rocket lifting off, blah blah, and then it gets into space, and then it starts launching out its payload. So here we go. Here is some satellites being launched into space right now, and it launches 104 of them.
So look, so how come we can see the stars in the background there now?
What stars? That satellite's being released. And what does it matter about? I mean, look how overexposed the Earth is right now.
Yeah, no. If you scroll back like a little bit, you can sort of see the stars. If you know what I mean. Or can you see the stars there, but you can't see them.
I don't even know if that's stars. I think that's just like pixels on the bits of stuff.
Looks like debris. Stars.
Well, actually, to me, that looks like debris being released as the payload is launched. Not stars.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So, but there we go. But
then, Craig, see, like that doesn't look impressive, mate. Though.
Again, they don't care.
Looks
about
a bit cartoonish. If you know what I mean, it doesn't look like
it's cartoonish.
Legit. It does, mate. Honestly, that's my opinion. It's like I'm not saying it's true, but I'm saying, in my opinion, it looks a bit cartoonish.
Here we go. So here is SpaceX deploying some Starlink satellites. Oh, once my internet starts playing.
So this is coming from a private corporation, SpaceX, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, they
so
do
private
stuff in space. So
corporation has the best information on space.
Yeah, they've got a lot bigger budget than NASA, actually.
When did SpaceX start?
I don't know.
A couple of years back. So they've gone from nothing to the best space explorers
they've got a much bigger budget than NASA. They've got a much bigger budget than NASA.
Yeah, but I doubt they've got a much bigger knowledge base.
Well, they do
NASA.
actually.
So
they have lots of engineers doing specific. It wasn't overnight. So they've taken engineers from all around the world and built a company up that, through decades of research and development, has created incredible things like what you're seeing right now: internet from space. So here we go. Here is some more satellites in space. Fantastic. And whether or not you are impressed is kind of irrelevant to the fact that they exist.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. But, again, to me, mate, it doesn't look, well, I'd say, wow, yeah. So it just looks like wrong, you know what I mean? To me, yeah.
Okay, so,
that's...
Did you do any studying in like camera work and videography and special effects or anything?
No, not really.
Right. So under what kind of authority do you use to say, oh well, that doesn't look real?
Common sense.
How does common sense allow you to forensically analyze footage?
Well, I don't forensically sort of analyze it. I sort of look at it first. Yeah, so basic instinct alone, you know what I mean? It's like, does that look legit? Does that look legit? Now, you can kind of get misled, right, obviously, by patents and photographs and all that kind of stuff. But unless I did forensically analyze it, then I'd never know, if you know what I mean? So I've not actually carried out that to say, yes, this is definitely this or this is definitely that. I just base it on my first kind of instinct. What me senses tell me.
In the same vein, why isn't there any real pictures of the flat Earth?
Well, this is the point, you see. I'm not claiming a flat Earth. What I'm looking for is for evidence of the Earth being a globe.
Well,
I can't say what shape the Earth is or it isn't. But there's a claim being put forth to me that I live on 1,000 miles an hour spinning ball. So, I just question that, like I question everything else in life. I question myself, if you know what I mean, mate. So
I mean,
I just want to get
you can
to
measure
the
the rotation
bottom of it all,
Earth.
basically.
That's an easy thing to do.
If I can't get to the bottom of it, then I want to get rid of all the bullshit, if you know what I mean. So whether the globe is bullshit or the flat Earth is bullshit, I want to get
the flat Earth's
rid
definitely
of.
bullshit. It's very easy to falsify the flat Earth.
But it's probably the same for the globe as well.
No, it's not. It's impossible to falsify the globe because it's an actual globe. If it was possible to falsify the globe, then it would have been falsified, but it hasn't been.
Which I believe it has. You know what I mean? But
all right,
again,
okay,
mate, we'll get like into it as time goes on, kind of thing. But is there anything else that you'd like to add, or anything you'd like
to satellites
ask me
in
about
space? I mean, again, there is plenty of videos and images of satellites in space, but space big, satellites small. You know, that's it really.
Okay, right. Okay, cool. Well, you know, I'll disagree and say that the stuff that I've seen isn't that impressive, and I struggle to find stuff. But should we move on?
Yeah.
Okay,
right,
cool.
So point 3.
Right, so this is basically just, again, it's all from my perspective. Now, if I'm talking shite, stop me and say you're talking shite, yeah? So
Okay.
how come myself and nobody who I've ever spoken to said that they can measure themselves spinning on this spinning globe that we're all alleged to be living on? So I've spoken to loads of people and I've said to them, look, can you measure yourself spinning? And nobody says that they can. So if you can present some kind of evidence where it's possible to measure the spin of the Earth, then I'll be happy to see that.
Sure.
If the Earth is spinning at one rotation every 24 hours, that means that every hour it has to turn 15 degrees. And if the gyroscope is mounted anywhere on
please,
Earth,
it's a cartoon. I mean, I don't need like more.
In
it's the data that
21st
comes
century
from it.
navigation systems, they're using what's called a ring laser gyroscope. It is extremely precise. If we could simply get one of these ring laser gyroscopes, we would be able to prove once and for all that there is no rotation to the Earth. One of the people in the community actually purchased one for $20,000. But what we found is when we turned on that gyroscope, we found that we were picking up a drift, a 15 degree per hour drift.
Thanks,
Okay.
Bob.
If the Earth
Yes, thank you very much, Bob. Now the thing is, although that is presented lovely by fancy Netflix editing and stuff, it's the data that he gathered is the important thing. The data that he gathered was an actual measurement of the rotation of Earth, and in fact, the biggest video on my channel is a video of Bob talking specifically about this, and let's see if I've got it on here. He's in his house with Nathan Thompson using that gyroscope, showing Nathan Thompson how it works and how as soon as he turns it on, whilst it's sitting on his desk, boom, it picks up that 15 degree per hour rotation.
Okay, so are we basing everything that we know on the rotation of the Earth on this video, or do we have anything better than this?
Oh God, there's loads. No, that's just one measurement of rotation. And it's an example of how easy it is to actually measure the rotation of the Earth.
Yeah, but with all due respect to Bob, I don't sort of base me understanding of the Earth's rotation on what Bob says on
I'm not
Netflix.
just basing it on Bob.
Yeah.
I'm just showing you that Bob backs up what other things say. So, interestingly enough, once Bob and his cronies did that experiment and kind of embarrassed themselves, they started blaming on the fact that it's a laser gyroscope and it's light which can be affected by God energy or something. I'm not entirely sure.
Okay,
so
should we move on to the actual proof then of
I'm getting it. So
rotation?
the next thing they did was to build a physical gyroscope rather than a laser gyroscope, right? They got a guy called a flat earther called Stephen P. to build hold on, let me finish my what I'm saying, right? They got the flat earther Stephen P. to build a physical mechanical gyroscope, which we know gyroscopes maintain their relative position in 3D space, so they're going to show a drift if they're on something, as it should. And what happened was when Stephen P. built this gyroscope, he found that it actually backed up the measurements that Bob got with his laser gyroscope. Every single time they put it on, every axis of rotation they used, every revolution speed that they used, it backed up the measurements that Bob got. But that's not it. That's not the only measurements. One that I use often is a pendulum. A simple swinging pendulum can show you that the Earth rotates and is a physical measurement of the Earth rotating.
Okay, does the pendulum need to be kick-started, or does it start on its own?
Well, of course it needs to be kick-started. Why would it start on its own? That's not what
okay. Then
so
that's somebody else applying motion. Yeah.
No. You missed the point, right? It's not the fact that the pendulum is swinging that shows that the Earth is rotating, right? It's what happens when the pendulum is swinging, right? So,
okay,
we say that you need to apply energy to make it swing, but once it swings, right? Once they let this go, you see it's going backwards and forwards through this ink pad, right? And it's drawing a line. But over time, as it keeps going backwards and forwards, what happens is that line isn't straight. And over time, it drifts. And you can actually use the physics and the maths of the Earth being a globe and rotating at 15 degrees per hour to calculate, based on your latitude on Earth, how much that should drift. Because that's what the measurements say. If the Earth is rotating, then... sorry. If the Earth is rotating, then it's good. This is how it would measure that rotation. And everywhere you put this pendulum on Earth, it matches, you can correlate it to your latitude on Earth. It's a physical measurement of the Earth rotating.
Okay, then, so if I put it to you that if you carried on this experiment for 24 hours, what that pendulum should do is show a 360-degree circle. Is that what?
No, only at the poles. Only at the poles would that happen. And that's what the evidence, that's why this is good evidence, because as you move away from the poles, you're increasing your distance away from the axis of rotation, which means there's going to be different Coriolis forces applied to the swinging pendulum. So, for instance, where they were when they did this experiment, it would have taken 31 hours. All right, this is the calculation they did. So it swung for 0.688 hours, so about 45 minutes, right? And in that 45 minutes, it drifted 7.88 degrees. So based on that, you could say that if it was able to keep going for 31.4 hours, at that point,
why
it would do 360 degrees.
Why does the pendulum stop?
Because gravity, friction, it's not going to keep going. The Earth rotating doesn't say that it would keep going. That's not what this is.
Like, to my basic understanding of it, right, if that was true what you're saying, then if you spun that for 24 hours, then you should see a full circle from that pendulum. But you're saying that it just swings back and forth and then it stops, after a certain amount of time.
Yeah, so of course the pendulum itself is going to stop because it's going through the air, and the air has friction, and gravity is putting it down towards the center of the Earth. So of course the swinging pendulum is going to stop. Again.
So we're back to gravity.
Well, gravity is a real thing that's very easily verifiable, but the point is...
Well, this is what we're told, isn't it? But again, we'll get into this.
It's very, very easy to verify gravity. But that's what this experiment shows. If you're at the poles, you will get a 360-degree rotation in 24 hours. The further you move away from the poles, the longer the 360-degree rotation would take. And that correlates to something called Foucault's sine law, which allows us to correlate the drift of a swinging pendulum with our latitude on Earth, which is a direct measurement of the rotation of Earth. A direct measurement that matches every other measurement that's ever done. And there is so many different ways to actually measure the rotation of Earth.
Can you name a couple of other ones then?
Superfluid phase coherence.
What's that?
Gyro compasses.
What's it called? Sorry, super fluid phase coherence.
You can use the particular properties of a superfluid to measure the rotation of Earth, because the layers of matter move over each other a lot easier based on centrifugal force. So you can use particular. I mean, I could show you the scientific paper, which you could read through together if you want, but it's pretty heavy reading.
I suppose I probably wouldn't understand it, but
I mean, I
can
barely
understand
understand
is a practical.
but it's it's a practical experiment that people can repeat if they want, but they would probably need some knowledge of physics to be able to do that.
Okay, have you got any practical examples of that then that we could sort of?
Again, we could read through a scientific paper, but I don't have a video. I don't have a video that's been recorded to go through. You know.
Okay, so
and to be honest,
like other ones
no
that we could take a look at.
Sorry, say what?
Is there any other videos that we could take a look at to sort of?
Well, I could show you a gyro compass measuring the rotation of Earth if you want. I've already shown you 3 videos of measurements of the rotation of the Earth. I could give you many papers on the Sagnac effect. The thing is, there is actually an incredibly large amount of evidence of the Earth rotating. I have easily just queued up 3 for you there, and I could keep going. I could go through scientific paper after scientific paper. I could go through high school Foucault pendulum experiment after high school Foucault pendulum experiment. I could show you someone building a gyro compass from scratch. There is so many different ways to measure the Earth rotation that is easily done. That I don't understand when people say there's no evidence of the Earth rotating. I literally, as soon as you asked me, boom, I showed you 3, including videos. And if you go to mctoon.net/spin, there's a bunch more.
Back and forth that stops due to gravity. So as far as I'm concerned, mate, that's not conclusive.
Again, it doesn't matter what you think is conclusive. Physics
says does when we're trying to establish if the Earth's spinning or not. Of course it matters.
What happens with the pendulum is exactly what should happen if the Earth is rotating. 100%. Right? It matches.
Isn't it? So my question would be, right?
It's supposed to stop.
If the Earth was rotating, why would the pendulum stop?
Why would it not stop?
Because the Earth's supposedly rotating, and
the
that
pendulum
is being presented to me as the claim that the Earth
is
spinning, but the pendulum stops. So in my head, I'd be like,
the swing of the pendulum isn't the evidence; it's the drift once it is swinging. Right? Nothing about what you have to understand.
Craig,
what you have to
all we see is just a bit of paint coming out of a ball, and
hold on. Right, the entire pendulum, the entire apparatus. The pivot point that the apparatus is attached to is rotating with the Earth, right? But once then the pendulum, the bob of the pendulum is swinging under that apparatus, it then maintains its swing independently of the Earth's rotation and allows us to do a measurement, right? It's not the fact that it's swinging is the evidence of the Earth's rotation. It's the fact that that swing, that back and forward swing, drifts from just being backwards and forwards. And wherever you are in the world, you can do the experiment and calculate the amount of drift you would expect based on exactly what we say it should be. That's what science. That's how you do science. You make a prediction and then you test it. And it isn't just this one Foucault pendulum experiment. There's hundreds of them. It was done at the South Pole, and they got 24 hours of a period of rotation. It's museums all over the world. High school kids do it. It's repeatable.
Okay, well, we'll take your kind of presentation on that. And again, obviously, I disagree with it, but that's the kind of reason why we're all in this thing, because there's claims being presented, and then there's people saying, well, look, I've taken a look at your claim and it doesn't ring true compared to my observations and.
Maybe it doesn't ring true to you, Mr. Cheswick, because you've never studied physics. Is that a possibility?
No. Well, yeah, that's I'm kind of open to that. But when I move on to my other points, Craig, we're not talking about mathematics and physics. We're talking about direct
let me ask you a quick question.
My next question is kind of related.
Before you move on, can I just before we move on, just one more point on the pendulum, right?
Okay.
The drift that I was talking about, that is predictable based on the globe, right? That's what we say should happen. If the Earth was flat and stationary, what would be the reason for that predictable drift based on where you are on Earth?
No idea, mate. To be honest,
and that's the thing. But there isn't a reason. If the Earth's flat and stationary, then there's no reason why a bob made of any material swinging backwards and forwards would have a predictable drift. There's only one thing that can make that happen, and that's Coriolis forces.
Well, I suppose like weight as well, as the liquid comes out of the object, the lighter it gets, it would sort of swing in a different
and there's no liquid
direction. Well, what's coming out of the ball then?
Nothing's coming out. It's a brush underneath it, swinging through an ink pad, drawing a line. But it's done. There's many ways. Other ways it's done. Like there's some. The one that I saw was done with a laser pointer over a bit of glass with a computer mapping where it's going. You know, there's many other ways. This was just one particular way of recording the experiment so that you could, you know, visually represent the data in real time.
Okay, well, you know, I'll sort of accept what you say, disagree with it, obviously, but, you know, I don't think we're going to get any further on this, yeah?
Okay.
Okay, right, so my next question, mate, is related to that, yeah?
Okay.
Right, so how come myself or nobody who have ever spoken to has said that they can observe themselves spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, right? So
What
just
do you
say,
mean?
you know, if I asked you the question now, have you ever observed yourself spinning at 1,000 miles an hour?
Well, you don't spin at 1,000 miles an hour. That's not how spinning works.
Well, the Earth does rotate at 1,000 miles an hour, yeah?
No, the Earth rotates
spin,
at
sorry.
0.0000694 RPM.
Which
at
is
the equator, there's
which
a
is
tangential
roughly 1,000
speed.
miles an hour, yeah?
At the equator, there's a tangential speed of approximately 1,000 miles an hour. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And
At the equator,
different
right? Yeah.
positions you are in the world, it will obviously be slower. But the Earth itself is supposedly spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, yeah? So
No,
my
no,
question to
no. Only the
you,
equator is moving at 1,000 miles an hour. The entire Earth is rotating, is spinning half as fast as an hour hand goes.
which roughly equates to 1,000 miles an hour, yeah?
As a tangential velocity at the equator, yes.
Yeah, okay, so supposedly we're all spinning at 1,000 miles an hour on this rock, yeah?
No,
So
I
my
just explained,
question to you, Craig, would be, have you ever seen yourself spinning at 1,000 miles an hour?
Well, no, because again, as I explained, you don't spin at 1,000 miles an hour. You spin at 15 degrees per hour, 0.000694 RPM.
Which roughly equates to 1,000 miles an hour, yeah?
Yeah, that equates to a straight line movement at the equator only of 1,000 miles an hour. In the UK, for us, we have a tangential speed of about 300 miles an hour.
Okay, then, so I'll put it to you then now. Have you ever seen yourself spinning at 300 miles per hour?
No, I've observed myself rotating at 0.000694 RPM.
But not spinning at 300 miles per hour?
No, again, I don't think you understand what I'm trying to say here. You cannot
do understand.
spin. You cannot spin in miles per hour. You can't record
Of course
a
you can.
spinning motion in miles per hour. That's miles per hour describes a straight line, thing. It doesn't describe rotation. Rotation is described in RPM, radians per minute, degrees per hour.
That's just like a different language, isn't it?
Think about right,
saying the same thing.
Let me think about this. Think about it this way, right? If you get a basketball, right, and the whole thing is spinning, right?
Yep.
But the very outside, the equator of that ball is spinning at 50 miles an hour. Does that mean that entire ball is spinning at 50 miles an hour?
No, of course not.
It doesn't, because you don't spin in miles per hour. What it means is that the equator of that ball has a tangential speed of 50 miles per hour. But the entire ball is probably spinning at about 20 revolutions per minute. The only way you could describe the rotation of the Earth is to describe the entire thing at once. And to describe the entire thing at once means that you have to describe it in a rotational velocity like RPM or degrees per hour or radians per second. And that means that it's 15 degrees per hour, which is half the speed of an hour hand. And that gives us a tangential velocity.
Oh, okay, right.
Okay.
So if we are spinning at them, not speeds but measurements that you say,
Yeah.
have you ever observed that with your own eyes, kind of thing?
Well, yeah, I can observe the motions of the things around me in the sky.
No, that's the sky, but talking about the land that you're standing upon.
Well, no, because if you're on the thing that is spinning, then you're not going to notice that it is spinning because you're also spinning with it.
Well, that doesn't make sense, because if I put myself
Well, it
on
makes
a
perfect
roundabout
sense.
and spin myself around, I'll be able to observe myself spinning
How would you observe yourself spinning?
with my eyes.
Yeah.
How else do you think?
Yeah. Okay. So using your eyes, where are you looking whilst you're standing on this roundabout? And for the American audience, one sec. For our American audience, in this instance, roundabout means like merry-go-round. Okay. Not So that's what we mean when we say roundabout. Right. So you're standing on this roundabout, right, and it's rotating. Where are you looking with your eyes to determine that you are spinning?
Just say I'm looking straight ahead. And then.
So what are you looking at? You're looking at some houses in the distance, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so on Earth, for me to observe that I am spinning, I'm looking at the stars in the distance. It's the same thing, right?
No, because you're looking at the sky. What I'm talking about is the land is supposedly spinning or rotating. Well, spinning and rotating around the sun, but we'll just concentrate on the spinning for the time being. So my question is, why can't... Well, you say that you can, right? I say that I can't. I can't observe myself spinning on this Earth.
Okay.
Why is that?
So, but you, in the same way that if you were standing on a roundabout, looking straight ahead, you would see the things around you appear to move, right?
Well,
from your perspective, right? If you're on the roundabout, right, and you're just looking straight ahead, from your perspective, all the things around you would appear to be moving, right? Would appear to be moving past you.
No, because my senses will be telling me that I'm the one that's moving.
What senses?
Me common sense, me eyes, me sense of balance, all the things that I was born with.
Your sense of balance. So what would your balance? Let's focus on the sense of balance, okay? Why would your sense of balance be allowing you to determine that you're on a rotating roundabout?
Because my eyes can see that I'm standing on a roundabout, and my sense of balance would be telling me, "Hey, the roundabout's moving." Now my eyes
Let's
focus on.
Let's
saying,
focus on
"Hey,
that.
Look, I can see myself spinning."
Let's focus on your sense of balance.
That's not the case when I'm standing on a 1,000 miles an hour spinning ball.
Let's focus on your sense of balance, right? Okay, so your eyes can see that the things around you appear to be moving, and your sense of balance, it's making you, feel like you're on something that's moving. Why is that?
Yeah.
Right? On a roundabout that's spinning, what forces are being applied
because I am moving.
to you? Yeah. Okay, you are moving, right? But what forces are being applied to you so that you can sense that happening?
No idea. I'm not talking about that, right? I'm talking about why can't I
you are
observe
because you're talking about your sense of balance, which means that there's been a force applied to you that's knocked you off your balance, right?
No. Right, my question is, Craig, is why can't I observe it, right? If I'm standing on a
look at the stars,
I can observe myself spinning, right? If I come off the roundabout and stand on the Earth, I can't observe myself spinning. Why is that?
You can look at the stars.
Is it because the roundabout is spinning and the Earth is not spinning?
So step off of the Earth and go into space and watch the Earth spin.
Yeah, but I'm not going to go into space.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's keep it realistic.
We're talking about being on the roundabout, looking straight out. You can see the things around you are moving, and said, hold on, work with me here, please, work with me here, right? And you said that your sense of balance is telling you, as well as your eyes, that you're moving. So we need to focus on that. Your sense of balance. Why is your sense of balance telling you that you're moving? Because there has been a force applied.
The roundabout is moving.
Yes, exactly. The roundabout is moving, and that has applied a force to you, right? Which your body has interpreted as you being off balance. Do you know the name of that force?
Nope.
Right? In that particular instance...
Have a guess.
Right, hold on.
Centrifugal
force or centrifugal acceleration. On the roundabout
specifically... Hey, I got it!
Well done. On the roundabout specifically, you're going to feel what seems like a force pushing you to the outside of that roundabout, the faster that roundabout goes.
Okay, I've heard all this, mate.
Let me finish then, right? that is called the centrifugal force, right? It's a product of how fast it is spinning and how far away you are from the center of rotation and your mass, okay? Now, that you can actually calculate that force that you are feeling to push you off your balance. You can
but Craig,
actually,
I don't want to calculate it. I want to know why I can't observe it.
I'm trying to get there, right? That's where you need to let me finish, right? On the roundabout,
but can you not like explain it in like layman's
I'm trying to.
terms?
I'm really trying to.
You can't see it because blah blah. There you go. Short and.
Yeah, right. I've talked about seeing. You can see. Just look at the stars, same as you looking at houses in the distance, right?
That's the stars. That's the sky. I'm talking about the land I'm standing upon. The land that I'm standing upon.
Yeah, but you're on the land.
Appears to me to be stationary. That's
yeah, because you're on it, right? If you were,
and it is
right. Okay, let's go back then, because you've moved away from the point I was trying to make, right? And let's start again. If you were on the roundabout and looking straight down at the roundabout, not at the world around you, okay? Mm-hmm. What would it look like to you?
It would appear as if I'm spinning on a roundabout.
No. You're just looking down at the roundabout, not at the world around you. Just at, all you can see is the floor of the roundabout. What would it look like to you?
It will look like the roundabout is spinning.
No, it would look like you are on something that is stationary. You can't see the roundabout is spinning.
No, it would look like the roundabout is spinning.
How would it look like the roundabout is spinning if you are simply just looking straight at the floor of the roundabout?
Because my eyes
and you are standing on it.
Because my eyes would be seeing it move, and my senses would be saying,
how would your eyes be seeing it move if you are standing on it, just looking straight at your feet?
Because
is it moving underneath your feet? Is it moving underneath?
Moving around, my feet would be going like 360 degrees. If you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you're looking straight down at your feet. Have your feet moved?
Exactly, and my feet would be spinning 360 degrees. Yeah.
Yeah, but how would you know that if you were just looking at your feet in the roundabout?
Because my eyes are telling me.
How are your eyes telling you if you are looking simply at the roundabout, which is just a bit of wood that you're standing on? Like, ignore any peripheral vision at this point. Nothing else in the world. Just your feet that are standing on the floor of the roundabout. How would your eyes tell you that you are moving?
Because my feet would move 360 degrees.
How would they know?
Would say, hey, your feet are moving 360 degrees.
How would your eyes know? How would your eyes know? Because your eyes are attached to your feet. Your feet, it's all moving at the same rate as that roundabout, right? You are moving with the roundabout. So how would you be able to tell that the roundabout was moving?
Because my eyes are telling me, and my sense of balance is telling me that I'm standing on something.
We're not talking about balance right now. Right? You got very confused with balance. We're just talking about eyes right now, right? Work with me here. Okay, nothing else in the world. Just your feet standing on the roundabout, looking directly at that and nothing else. How do your eyes specifically tell you that you're moving?
Because I can see it. You
can see the roundabout moving separately to your feet?
No, I can see my feet moving on the roundabouts because my feet, right?
How
if I'm standing on a
roundabout and the roundabout is spinning,
I would also be spinning as well with the roundabout. So
yeah, are your eyes separate to your body?
Moving.
Are your eyes separate to your body?
No.
No, exactly. So your eyes are also moving with your feet and the roundabout, right? Without any other senses at this point, just looking at your feet in the roundabout, you wouldn't know you were moving. There would be no indication that you were moving. You would just be looking at your feet on a bit of wood, nothing else, right?
Yeah, of course, but I do have other senses that would indicate.
Right? So then you got to the sense of balance, right? You were saying I would also because of my sense of balance. And the sense of balance takes us back to the reason your sense of balance is telling you that, because there are forces being applied, centrifugal forces, which you can calculate, right? So the centrifugal forces that you're feeling that is
so I can calculate the forces, but I can't experience them or observe them.
You can experience them because that's what's making you go off balance.
Well, I can't experience them. That's the problem. That's the problem.
Wait. No, you're nearly there. You're so close. You're so close. Now, on the roundabout, you could very easily feel those forces. But on Earth, even at the equator, where you have the fastest tangential velocity, you don't feel those forces. Why do you think
but I couldn't
that
even
is?
feel a change in force. If I was standing on the equator, I'd be spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. If I come to the UK, I'd be spinning at 300 miles an hour. But I can't feel that change in force either. So it doesn't make sense.
There we go. Right. Oh,
doesn't make
exactly.
sense.
Now, why do you think you couldn't feel that force?
Because the Earth isn't spinning.
No.
That's why.
Maybe it's because the force is very, 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 very small.
Well, maybe it's not.
Well, it is. The centrifugal acceleration that you feel if you're standing at the equator is like 1.1 meters per second squared or something. I think it might be even less than that. But it's so much less than the force that due to gravity pulling you towards the center of the Earth that you don't feel it. The forces being applied by the rotating Earth are minuscule. They're very, very small because the Earth is not rotating very fast. But there is, you said you can't feel it. Wait, let me finish.
1,000 miles an hour.
You said you can't feel the difference, but you actually can. Because you physically weigh less at the equator than you would at the poles. That's a physical
Craig,
thing.
I'm not talking about this, mate. You're spinning off now into something else, right? My question is quite specific, right? How come I can't observe myself spinning at 1,000 miles an hour? Just say for instance, I was standing at the equator. I'd be spinning 1,000 miles an hour. Why could I not observe that motion? You know what I mean?
You can.
With my eyes, because I'd stand on a roundabout and I'd be able to see that I'm spinning.
You can observe it if you look at the things around you.
I can't.
You look at the things around you. You can observe that you are rotating.
And the stationary, all me natural born senses are screaming out that the Earth around me is stationary.
That's your senses are crap. So
I'm being told I'm spinning, but
again,
I'm
you
not
can measure it.
Sort of experiencing that, you know. But I'm saying, I'm being told, there's 1,000 miles an hour in this, and there's a formula for this, and there's this, and I'm saying, okay, sound. I'll provisionally accept what you're saying as true, but what I'm telling you is that from my own personal experience, I don't experience any motion at all whatsoever. So there's a huge problem there. If you understand what I'm saying, mate.
You actually experience exactly what you should. You experience exactly what you should.
Yeah, I do. I experience being stationary. That's what I experience.
No, every force that you experience on Earth matches the predictions of the rotating globe. It's what you should feel if the Earth is rotating. And that is why
I disagree.
You can physically experience the different forces applied with the fact that you weigh less at the... Wait, you can. Hold on, let me finish my sentence.
Because right, I've just gave you an example. If I stood at the equator, I'd be spinning at 1,000 miles an hour.
No, you wouldn't be spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. You would have a tangential speed of 1,000 miles an hour. But let me finish my sentence.
Mr. Cheswick, I should be able to experience the difference in rotation.
Let me finish my sentence. You can. Let me finish my sentence. Right. You can physically experience the difference in tangential speed between the equator and other points on the globe because you actually weigh less at the equator than you do as you go towards the poles. That is a physical experience that you can have that will show you that you are rotating.
But I thought you said that it's a tiny little bit of centrifugal force.
It's very small.
Tiny, but you can't experience it.
It's very small.
Is that what you're saying?
It's enough for you to notice a slight difference in your weight due to a difference in centrifugal acceleration.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about weight. I'm talking about observing.
Yeah, do you not observe your weight? Do you not observe your weight?
You know, I'll provisionally accept you've got a mathematical equation and a theory and a backstory.
We've got a measurement and a physical experience.
What I'm saying to you is I can't experience that. Maybe
yes, you can.
Like, you know, other people out there, well, put it to the world. I mean, because every person that I've ever asked in real life, I've said, can you observe yourself spinning? Everybody has said no. So,
I mean, you do realize that we are spinning with the Earth.
That's what I'm told.
Yeah.
But,
so that's why we can
my experiences
measure.
Tell me that I'm stationary, mate.
You can actually. I've just explained to you actual physical experiences that you can have. All right. You can literally.
I've never had them, mate. Have you ever had them? And right, I've never met anybody else who has, except maybe you.
Okay. But you can actually measure the rotation. You can actually physically measure the difference in weight of things.
Yeah, but we're not talking about measurement. We've moved on from that now. We're talking about observing. That's what we're talking about, observing.
Yeah, how do you observe something if you're not also measure? You have to kind of observe something when you measure it.
Yeah, but we've already spoken about.
But for me, my observation that the fact that the Earth is rotating is very simple. Look at the things around me.
Yeah, and they appear to be stationary.
No, they don't. The things in the sky definitely
appear
to move. The things in the sky definitely appear to move. 100%.
I'm not talking about the sky, right? The sky.
I am.
The sky appears to be moving, right? I'm talking about the land, the Earth, right? The sky is completely
we're
different.
on the Earth, so if we are on the Earth that is rotating, it is not going to appear to move to us because we are moving with it.
But if we stand on the roundabout and the roundabout rotates, then it appears to be spinning. Yeah.
Not if you look at the roundabout and nothing else. No.
Yeah, but I don't spend my life.
You would only know with your eyes that the roundabout was rotating.
Floor, I'll look around the Earth and
Mr. Cheswick, hold on.
This is a great place, but
Mr. Cheswick, hold on. Mr. Cheswick, hold on. Right now, let's take that roundabout, right, and put a metal cylinder around it, okay? And you're inside this metal cylinder, right?
But I don't live inside of a metal cylinder, mate. Come on, please.
I'm trying to make you think about the fact that when you are experiencing the roundabout,
Craig.
Right, you keep stop. Hold on. You keep interrupting me when I'm mid-sentence. You're never going to actually let me finish a thought. It's you're never going to actually be able to understand what I'm saying, right? Okay, if you were to experience the roundabout and nothing else, right, you would not know that the roundabout was rotating. If you were to look at the things around you, the houses, the floor, then you would know the roundabout is rotating. That's because the floor and everything else is a separate thing to the roundabout. In the same way, if you are on the Earth, the way to know that the Earth is rotating is to look at the things around the Earth, i.e. the stars. It's the same thing. I don't care if you disagree. That's how it works.
Well, this is basically the whole flat Earth kind of thing, isn't it? There's people who sort of trust what the instinct and the senses that they were born with tell them, and then there's people who sort of put trust in
your
institutions.
Senses are rubbish.
I don't put trust in the institutions, mate.
Do you realise how crap senses are?
Well, they can be, but when they're used in conjunction, you know what I mean? Craig, trust me on this, right? Nobody on this Earth will be able to function without the senses. Let's put it that way.
Blind people would disagree with you.
Yeah, but they can still get around with the hearing. They've got better sense of hearing and stuff like that. Right, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But our senses in general are pretty crap.
Well, I disagree because mine are sharp as hell.
Well, compared to the majority of the creatures on this planet, your senses are terrible.
Well, yeah, obviously I haven't got the eyes of an eagle and the
Our senses in general,
Cheswick,
are pretty fucking awful. They're for basic survival, nothing else.
Yeah, but I sort of.
You don't use your eyes to measure things, do you? You need tools for that. Yeah. There's a reason I wear glasses. Because senses are fucking crap.
Oh yeah, they can be, but I'm saying we all use them every day to say, for instance, drive or you know what I mean. You can sort of judge things with your senses. So you say you're traveling in a car down the road, you can sort of judge if people are going to walk out and stuff like that. So maybe people have got better senses than other people, if you know what I mean. So
yeah, but in general, our senses are pretty shit, and our senses are certainly not capable of detecting a rotation of 0.000694 RPM.
But mathematics can.
Well, measurements can, yes. Just because our senses can't detect something doesn't mean a tool designed specifically to detect that thing can't detect it.
Yeah. Okay, I'll concede that, but it still doesn't sort of prove to me that there is any rotation of the Earth, because in conjunction with what I've heard and what my senses tell me, I'd rather trust my senses, if you know what I mean, and say,
so you'd rather trust your senses than measurements.
I appear to be stationary. That's what I'll say. If someone can come along and convince me otherwise, then I'm prepared to.
Well, I showed you in this conversation 3 measurements, and I can direct you to tons more.
Convince me, mate. It's
so 3 measurements.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm saying you didn't.
So hold on. 3 measurements that all back each other up don't convince you.
Well, it just doesn't seem that impressive, mate. If you know what I mean,
physical measurements done by 3 different people.
You know what I mean? Everyone's got stories.
So hold on. Physical measurements done by 3 different people from different parts of the world, all saying the same thing, doesn't convince you?
Not particularly, because like there's 2 billion
that
Catholics
sounds
out there,
like a you problem,
and they don't convince me either. Do you know what I mean?
That does sound like a you problem there.
Well, no, it just sounds like majority or numbers doesn't necessarily mean right. Like if 50,000 people bought the Mr. Blobby single, does that mean that's the best song out that week? No.
Excuse me. As British, I thought we all agreed we would never talk about that.
Well, there you go. See, you get all these like weird topics in flat earth.
Just so the rest of the world's aware, we did not have Mr. Blobby as number 1. That never happened.
We did, I think.
Shut up!
We did. Sure it did.
Were you not at the meeting? All of us British agreed we would not let the rest of the world know that happened.
Do you know what, mate? It's probably better than 95% of the music that's out now, anyway. That's what I say.
Talking about music,
Mr. Blobby any day.
You've made quite a bit of music, haven't you?
Yeah, bits and bobs, like.
So, why don't we just take a 2-minute break to play one of your masterpieces?
Oh, have we got to?
I've got one lined up. Just 2 minutes here. This is Mr. Sensible Records. Please enjoy, people.
Oh wait, cover.
He's been propped up on YouTube to deny the atheist flat. And everybody laughs at him when he says it's a ball. He really thinks he's clever, but all he knows is fuck all. Oh, baldy cat's a wanker, he wears a wanker's hat. He hangs around with Simon Dan to deny the atheist flat. And everybody laughs when he gets out his big whiteboard. If he's really a teacher, then we're really quite appalled. Oh, Greg McNeil's a wanker, he wears a wanker's hat. He likes playing on his Xbox and denying the atheist flat. And everybody laughs at him when he says what a Benz, but he gets a pat on his back from his deluded friends.
Some of your best work, this.
That's what everyone says.
Oh, Creaky is a wanker, he wears a wanker's hat. He's fairly new on YouTube and he's bald like Baldy Cat. Now everybody laughs and says he looks like Michael Stipe. And everything he says is just one steaming pile of shite. Oh, Stanley is a wanker, he wears a wanker's hat. He kisses all their asses and denies the atheist flat. And everybody laughs when he says rivers flow uphill. Cause we all know he's talking shit and just a YouTube shill. They're all a bunch of wankers, they all wear wankers hats. They're all propped up on YouTube to deny the atheist flat. And everybody laughs at them when they claim that we spit. But unless they demonstrate it, then they're never gonna win.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Do enjoy that. We play that regularly here.
Yeah, it's a bit of a classic now, I think. But honestly, it's like just to like Simon, Dan, Craig, all them people out there and all that. Like, there's no offense or harm in any of this. To me, it's a comedy show, so I try and treat it like that from an artistic point of view.
Well, you're not wrong. Flat Earth is the greatest comedy that I've ever experienced in my life.
Well, you see, I disagree. I think it's the opposite. I think it's the globe that is the greatest comedy.
But the globe has all the evidence behind it, whereas Flat Earth literally just has denial and saying it's not.
See,
I mean, all you've really done is just say that you're not impressed, and that's not a way to kind of debunk the globe. Everything about the globe is verifiable.
I'm not here to debunk the. I'll just tell you my thoughts and my opinions on it. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying, listen, this is just how I observe things. Do you know what I mean?
I understand that, right? But your position and the way that you view the world would be different if you had a physics degree. All right? I imagine
probably be more
you've studied music, right?
Indoctrinated into that side of it. You know what I mean?
Nothing in a physics degree is indoctrination. I wasn't just given a book and told, go and learn the equations in this book, right?
Yeah,
you are
of course,
taught...
mate. It's like, I'm not saying that, but right, what they tend to do is they tend to like spin off into a lot of theoretical stuff, if you know what I mean? Where
not
it's like,
really, not in physics.
35 trillion miles, and I'm thinking, I'm going to say, mate, slow down. You're talking about like 35 trillion miles here, you know what I mean? It's like, let's rein it back in a bit, if you know what I mean?
In a physics degree, you don't really talk about that. You just talk about verifiable things that you can test. You know, you're given the tools
Craig,
to be able to test the world yourself.
25 billion light years and all this shit, mate. It's just theoretical garbage.
Well, I mean,
sorry,
25 billion light years is irrelevant to the shape of the Earth. You know. You know,
yeah. Okay, yeah. That's fair enough. Yeah.
We know the Earth is the shape it is, and does what we say it does because we can measure these things. You know, we can physically go out and measure that the Earth rotates. We can physically go out and measure that the Earth has a curve. You know. Right. So, London Underground. Right. You ever used it?
No, I tend to stay away from London.
Yeah, I would.
It's like
do
being
that
like
well.
belly of the beast.
But the London Undergrounds are. I'm currently scripting a video about this. The London Undergrounds are an excellent example of how we know the Earth is a globe, right?
Oh,
because when they were making the London Underground, right, they had to take into account the curvature of the Earth to make all the lines match up. And the problem was that the only maps they had were like Mercator projections, you know, projections of a globe. And it made it very hard for them to calculate the curvature that they needed in the tunnels that they were making. So they actually had to come up with a new type of coordinate system that could incorporate the 3D and the 2D together so that they could actually take the curvature of the Earth into account when they were putting together the London Underground. And there was some where it was like millimeters that the tunnels had to meet. If they didn't, they would have gone off into the Westminster line instead of going to the Piccadilly line, you know. And the actual specifications and the engineering specification and everything for the London Underground show that the curvature of the Earth is part of the calculations of when they were making those tunnels. Why would they do that? Why would they take the curvature of the Earth into account when building the London Underground if the Earth didn't have a curve?
You tell me, mate.
Well, they wouldn't
sounds like
take
a nice
it into
story.
account if it didn't exist. It's not just a story. It's something that's verifiable. You can go and look at the stuff yourself, you know. But it's a fact. There is large engineering projects around the world that have to take the fact that the Earth curves into account, including the London Underground, including things like the Veracenter Narrows Bridge in New York. You know, there's.
Well, the story I've heard, mate, is that it's never taken into the equation, but.
That's
again, this is like the
to people
whole
like Dell
thing, isn't
and Debay have
one
lied
side,
to you.
Well, no, it's like, you know, it's kind of beyond all that. But the point is that there's two sides. Like, these guys are saying this, these guys are saying that. Do you know what I mean? So who's kind of right?
Well, that's why you go and test it, right?
Well, yeah.
And
you know,
that's what the experiments I've shown you were. That's why Bob, good old Bob Nadell, decided to test the claim that the Earth rotates. And
yeah, but mate, honestly, I don't base me understanding of the Earth on what Bob says or what anybody says for that matter. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, but it's not what Bob said. It's the data that he got that comports with all the data that everybody else got, right?
Okay.
The fact that all these people can measure it and get the same result.
Right. Okay. Well, should we move on to question 5, or is there anything else?
No, please go ahead.
Right. So, mate. So, again, it's related to this. Like, so if we're gonna go over the same kind of ground, we may as well kind of move on. But how come nobody we've ever spoken to has said that they can sense themselves spinning? Right. So we've had observe. We've had measure. Now, what we're talking about is sense. So you kind of understand what I mean by that. If I spun you around now, you'd sense that you was being spun around, yeah?
Okay. Well, the answer for that is in the maths, and that's what I was trying to say.
No, forget the maths. I'm talking about your senses that you were born with. So forget the maths.
And the reason your senses don't detect that you're spinning is because the spin is so small and the forces applied are so small that they're very hard to detect.
Right. Look, right. Here's what I'm trying to get you to understand. Right. If I spun you around now, forget the mathematics. Yeah. Would your senses tell you that you were spinning?
How fast are you spinning me?
No, like the speed is irrelevant. Like I'm just saying, would your senses detect that you're being?
This right now, what I'm going to do is I am going to, in my chair, spin the same speed that the Earth is spinning, right? I'm going to spin the exact same speed that the Earth is spinning. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I'm doing it.
Now, I guarantee you, right, if you carried this experiment on for 24 hours, your senses would say, hey, look, I'm no longer looking at the computer screen. Like, 18 hours later, I'm looking at the plasma TV on the wall. That's what your senses would tell you.
Excellent. And
So
that's,
your senses would have picked up that you've moved.
So then in real life, my senses show me that for 12 hours, I'm looking at a big bright ball of nuclear fusion, and for another 12 hours, I'm looking at dark stars and the moon.
Yeah, but you would have also seen the land that you're standing upon, which is your house. So picture you're looking at the computer screen now. If you moved, say, 90 degrees, you'd be looking at that wall. Another 90 degrees, you'd be looking at the curtains. Another 90 degrees, you'd be looking at the plasma, and then eventually you'd come back and look at the screen again. Well, in that time, your senses would be telling you, your eyes would be saying, hey, I'm moving. Your sense of balance would be saying, wow, I'm moving.
But so,
you know what I mean? This is something that you can't experience on the globe.
Hold on.
You can't experience it.
If you're saying that my senses should be able to detect me spinning once in 24 hours.
No, your senses would continually say that, wow, look, like, you know, an hour later, I'm sort of looking over there. An hour later, I'm looking over there. So it would constantly be telling you that. And then eventually you begin to realize, hey, look,
so the only
I'm spinning. I wonder how fast it's spinning. Then you can measure it. Then,
looking at,
what do you mean?
The only senses that's changed there is the things you're looking at. I'm not going to feel that because I'm spinning once in 24 hours. I'm just not feeling that. There's no acceleration that I'm going to feel when I'm spinning once in 24 hours. So the only thing that's different is what I'm looking at, right?
But you experience neither.
Well, you do, because I experience with my eyes that I'm seeing different things.
You're not, because if
you
stood still,
because it's daytime,
right,
and then it's
look
nighttime,
straight ahead. 24 hours later, you'd still be looking straight ahead, standing still. But
yeah, and I'm seeing a different thing. If I'm looking straight ahead, right, to the horizon, right, in the end, I'm going to be looking at the sky at some point, right?
Yeah, but again, look, we're talking about the observations. Like, what we're trying to establish is how come we can't sense it. You know what I mean? So I'm talking about
which senses
sense
are you
of
talking
balance
about?
And that kind of stuff. Yeah,
okay, sense of balance. Okay, exactly. Sense of balance. Why are we going to feel? Why is our sense of balance going to feel the Earth rotating?
Because you're spinning. If you stand on the equator at 1,000 miles an hour, so your senses should tell you, "Hey, I'm spinning."
No, again,
what they don't.
At the equator,
your senses tell you that you're stationary.
This fast. At the equator,
so
you're
what I'm being
spinning
told.
This fast. This is how fast you're spinning at the equator. Exactly what I'm doing now.
Yeah, but it's 1,000 miles an hour, isn't it?
It's a tangential speed of 1,000 miles an hour. Yeah, that is still just 15
so
degrees.
What I'm saying is, you can't experience it.
You experience exactly what you should experience,
which is nothing.
Which is a very, very,
very,
very small.
And the reason why you don't experience it is because it's stationary. That's it.
No,
you know what I mean? Now, if you look up at the sky, then your senses are telling you, wow, it's the sky that's moving above us, but the Earth is stationary. Right. That's what your senses are screaming out at you.
We need to do maths to understand why our senses seem to think it's stationary.
I understand that, right? Now, the point I'm making is that the mathematics, together. Right, is mathematics does not trump what you...
Well, it does, because you feel forces applied to you, and you can calculate those forces. So let's calculate the force, right? How much do you weigh?
I'm not sure, 12 stone or something.
Do you know what that... okay, it's 12 stone. That does have stones in there. The Americans don't understand
That's all I know, mate.
What stones is, right?
Stones and pounds. Like old school.
Right, so 12 stone. What's the radius of the Earth in miles?
25,000. Is that the circumference?
Right, let's get the exact number, just so we're right. All right. Radius of Earth. Yeah, just so we know exactly, in miles.
24,900 or something, is it? 901.
Right, so the radius of Earth in miles is 3,960 miles. Okay?
3,000.
Right, so we're going to use that. So radius of Earth is 3,960 miles. right? And that's at the equator. Tangential velocity is 1,000 miles per hour, right? So we're putting that in there.
Okay.
So that gives us a rotation of 0.000694, well, RPM, right? Very, very small.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
it is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour.
Feeling, right? This is what we're feeling. The centrifugal acceleration is 0.03136 meters per second squared at the equator. That is what our sense of balance is feeling. And that is a very, 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 very small amount of acceleration. You're not going to notice that.
Okay, so what you're
even at 1,000, look, we've got
saying...
1,000 miles an hour in there, and it's telling you that's what you experience.
Okay, so what you're effectively saying is that the mathematical formula trumps what my senses are telling me. Yeah.
No, the mathematical formula is telling you what your senses should feel.
So I should feel 0.03136. Yeah.
Meters per second squared of acceleration. Yes, at the equator, with a tangential speed of 1,000 miles an hour, you should feel a centrifugal acceleration of 0.03136 meters per second squared.
Okay, now if I stood on a roundabout and performed that same experiment.
All right, brilliant. Let's do that, shall we?
What would that be?
So, radius of a roundabout. Should we say 5 meters?
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Right. Now, what do you think the tangential velocity is? How fast do you think the outside of your roundabout is going to be going?
Well, just give it like a rough estimate. Say 20 miles an hour.
All right, 20 miles an hour. 20 miles an hour. Okay. So tangential velocity is 25 miles an hour, radius of 5 miles an hour.
So it's nearly double what you'd feel on a spinning Earth, yeah?
Wait, I'm just doing this right, sorry. So you're 12 stone, radius, no, 5 miles. Need this in meters, not miles. That's the problem there. All right, there we go. So we want the radius of 5 meters and 0 centimeters. Right? Tangential velocity of 20 miles per hour on the outside gives an angular velocity of, you're rotating 17 times per minute. So it's 17 RPM, right? And on that roundabout, this is the centrifugal acceleration that you feel. 15.988 meters per second squared.
Yep.
Do you remember what it was before?
Which is like huge compared to the Earth,
to what you feel on the Earth. Yeah. So that's why your senses don't tell you that you are spinning, because on a roundabout,
okay, yeah, I understand that.
So much bigger, so much bigger. All right, we do it again. So we put this back into miles. 360, tangential velocity 1,000 miles per hour. See, it's so much less than you experience on the roundabout, because the Earth is not rotating very fast. And that is the answer to your question, why we don't experience it with our senses.
Okay, that's cool. Right. I accept that. So then I'd put it to you is that, would you propose that the mathematical formula is a better judge of rotation than your own senses?
Well, the mathematical formula tells me what my senses should feel.
Okay, so would you trust the mathematical formula above your senses?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so would you do that in, say, general everyday kind of life?
Well, my senses don't have the ability to calculate a centrifugal acceleration applied. In everyday life, if I needed to calculate a centrifugal acceleration, I wouldn't ever use my senses. I'd use maths.
Yeah, right. Okay, I'll try and explain it then like this, right? Technically, I could get into I could propagate a formula, right, for a theory to get in a ring with Tyson Fury, yeah? So I could hit him at an angle of 90 degrees, right, at a force of 100 pounds per square inch or whatever, and then rotate my body 65 degrees to the left, and so the mathematical formula I could work out would be perfect, and mathematically I would be able to knock out Tyson Fury. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I mean, mathematically you could model that out, but there's a lot of variables there you would need to take into account, like what Tyson Fury is going to do.
Okay, but I'm saying, right. My point is, would it be possible for me to mathematically knock out Tyson Fury?
Well, no, you couldn't mathematically knock him out. You would need to put the maths into practice.
Why not? The maths is solid.
Yeah,
maths
doesn't knock somebody out. The maths tells you what you would need to do. So the maths is saying to you, right, for you to be able to knock out Tyson Fury, you have to do this, 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 and this, right? And then you would have to do those... Sorry. Behavior, man, sorry. So once you've mapped those things out mathematically, you would have to then follow those steps. You would have to, apply that force to Tyson Fury's chin. You would have to make sure that you swivel your hips at those degrees to apply the right, force. You would have to do the things that it said.
Of course,
Just because you've written it down
what I'm
doesn't mean
saying,
it's going to happen.
right, my point is that it would be possible to mathematically knock him out, yeah?
No, it would be possible to mathematically describe how you could do it.
Yeah. Okay, now, if I took that mathematical theory and applied it to real life, would that mathematical theory apply in real life, or would it only apply in the mathematical construct?
If you did everything that you mapped out and the maths was good, then it would work.
Yeah.
But we have to take into account the variables like what Tyson Fury is going to do. But if you were to say Tyson Fury is just standing there, he's not fighting back, he's not ducking, he's not dodging, he's not weaving, right?
But right, if you picture it right, mathematically, right, I could work out infinite equations of possibilities that Tyson Fury would do. So technically, mathematically, the formula would be solid, because I've worked out infinite possibilities, Yeah. Okay, so technically then I should be able to apply that mathematics in the real world. Why can't I apply that mathematics in the real world?
See my Xbox up behind me there. See my Xbox up behind me there. I've got a boxing game on it. All right, I've got a boxing game on there, and it uses mathematics so that I can knock the people out in the game.
Yeah.
All right, but obviously it has to go the way that the mathematics says it would. You could mathematically script out a point where you miss Tyson Fury and he then knocks your head off, which is the most likely probability because that dude's a fucking monster. But maths is just a description of reality. And if you do what the description says, then you're going to get an outcome. But you can also use mathematics to make predictions and to take measurements. Yeah?
Okay, I understand that. Right, but I'm saying is that I could not apply that mathematics in the real world and give a practical demonstration of my theory, yeah? But the math
you could. You could get in a ring and do everything that your mathematics has mapped out to Tyson Fury.
Because the theory wouldn't work in the ring. The theory only works in theory.
Well, not necessarily. If you did everything that the mathematics said and it worked out exactly as the mathematics said, then you could knock out Tyson Fury. But there isn't just one situation. There isn't just one situation here, right? We're not talking about the rotation of the Earth is a constant thing. It doesn't change. There's no variables. There's no ducking and dodging and weaving by a boxing champion. So that mathematics it's a lot simpler than to predict what's going to happen in a fight with Tyson Fury. But you could still do it. You could still predict the fight of what's going to happen with Tyson Fury based on every probability, every outcome, every variable, if you knew all of those variables. But that's kind of how maths works.
Yeah, and that's the part I understand. But what I'm saying is when you try to apply that in the real world, it doesn't work. You know what I mean? It only works.
I mean, ask engineers if that's how. I can guarantee you, as an engineer, that the maths does work in the real world, 100%.
All right, yeah. But I'm saying, when you apply these theoretical maths into the real world, it doesn't apply. If you know what I mean. So the maths that
if you apply theoretical maths into the real world, it doesn't. What does that mean?
Yeah, Right, it's because it can be applied to the real world, if you know what I mean. So you can take a mathematical formula, apply it in the real world, and it works. There is the practical demonstration of the maths and the real life, yeah. But theoretically, with theoretical mathematics, you know, it only really works.
What theoretical mathematics are you talking about?
Like the example that I've just gave you there of me getting into a ring with Tyson Fury, mathematically, I could come up with a brilliant formula that works, but when I try to apply that in the real world, that's not going to work. But if you take the
that's because you haven't taken all the variables into account,
and you apply that in the real world, then that works.
Yeah, but you haven't. That's because when you're building a skyscraper, you take all the variables into account. If you took all the variables into account,
it works.
Yeah, exactly. And if you took all the variables into account in mathematically scripting a fight with Tyson Fury, if you took all of them into account, then you could predict how to beat him in a fight mathematically, and then follow what you have done. And as long as Tyson Fury follows the variables that you've predicted in your mathematical equation, then you're going to do the same thing. But there's a lot more variables there. There is a lot more variables there than the Earth rotating and building a skyscraper. They're different things. You're arguing oranges with apples here.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, my point is that the formula would work in theory, but it wouldn't work in the real world. That's my point. Yeah.
Well, again, it would depend how many variables you've taken into account. There would be one particular outcome. Hold on. Let me finish. Let me finish. There would be one particular outcome where that mathematical formula you've written would work perfectly, but that's just one particular outcome. Just like Doctor Strange had to look into 14 million odd futures to find the one outcome where they beat Thanos. You know?
That's not my thing, that, mate. That's like far out stuff there. Right, anyway, so again, mate, we're just going to have to agree to disagree and stuff, but that's my stance on it anyway. That's how I see it. I trust me senses over the mathematical formula, and I trust real world applications over theoretical mathematics.
Real world applications like building the London Underground.
Well, like, you know, that's your story that they take into account the curvature. You know,
not a story,
I've got no way
it's a
of
fact. You can verify it just by looking it up yourself.
Well, see, like, you know, this is the thing. Like, people claim a lot of things, but, you know, if you want to present it to me, or, you know, maybe present it to the world, like, you know, show.
Well, I am scripting a video. There's 3 very good evidence that I've been looking up. Tow lines on a tow basin that have to be very close to the water and are curved. Engineering projects that have used the globe to take into account, and some known bridges that have to take the globe into account. I am scripting a video showing those evidence, so you know you're happy to look over that when I do. But what's happened here, Mr. Cheswick, is all the evidence I've shown you, you've just gone, I don't like that evidence. It doesn't please me. But that is called personal incredulity. That's all that is.
No, right. I'm saying, like, that the evidence that I'm being shown is, like, you know, is forced me to go against what my natural instinct and my senses are telling me. You know what I mean?
I mean, maybe your natural instincts aren't great. Just saying.
But I've used them every day. It's like, you know, it's what I create all this music with. Like, you know, I've drive a car, walk across the road. Like, I think my senses are pretty okay.
Yeah, but they're also not good enough to. You couldn't use your senses. You couldn't use your senses to detect infrared light, could you?
No.
No. Could you use your senses to tell me, you know, how strong a magnetic field was?
Nope.
No.
But, like, you know,
and could you use your senses
in the real world? So I'm not going to dispute them. You know what I mean? But,
could you use your senses to determine the difference? Could you use your senses to determine the difference between 90 degrees and 91 degrees?
No.
No. Because our senses suck. But it doesn't change the fact that we have all this evidence.
All of these senses in conjunction, and they work really well once you apply them all at the same time, if you know what I mean?
Still not good enough to be able to do things that, you know, our senses aren't capable of. Our senses are still not capable of doing things like detecting an acceleration of 0.003 meters per second squared.
Our senses are the best thing that we've got in this life, mate, because without
Really
the
not.
senses, none of this technology would have ever been built, because the people wouldn't have had the sense to build it in the first place.
But now we've got the technology, so it's better than the senses.
Yeah, but no, I disagree, man, with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love
Humans,
my senses.
it's like Terminator, you know what I mean, where the computers take over.
Hey, bring on the fucking Android uprising. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's why I'm always nice. I always say please and thank you to Alexa, because you know they're gonna remember.
I've seen Stanley Kubrick's 2001, mate. It doesn't really end well. Do you know what I mean?
No, most of these movies don't.
Yeah. So why would like humanity choose to go down that kind of road? If you know what I mean?
Because movies aren't real.
Well, you get more truth in the movies than you will ever in the news. That's the way, like, I see it.
There's the issue. Okay. Any more questions?
Yeah, I've got a couple, mate.
Yeah.
Like, are we fixed for time and stuff like that?
Yeah, we're good. We've got quite a few super chats that we're gonna get through. Some questions for you, but
I'm sure you're right. It's raining them in. It's super chat central.
Thank you, everyone, sending super chats. I'll get to every one of your questions. Really appreciate it. If you're not able to super chat, then the best thing you can do to help is just share the stream on social media. And if you really want me to ask a question, try and tag one of my moderators and get it to me. You don't need to send a super chat, but you know it is greatly appreciated. So thanks.
Right, so we've kind of covered all that then, haven't we? Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your next one?
So, the next one is basically, again, it's all stuff you've probably heard 1,000 times, you know what I mean? But these are just my kind of main sticking points, yeah?
Okay.
Okay, so how does an airplane fly at 500 miles an hour east to west on a ball that's spinning at 1,000 miles an hour west to east? Like, it's just...
Easy.
Again,
the atmosphere rotates with the Earth, and planes use the atmosphere to fly.
Okay, so this is the atmosphere of the Earth that we can see rotating, or the one
you
that
can't
we
really see the atmosphere. It's kind of, you know, invisible.
You can see you can see the clouds and that kind of moving, can't you?
Yeah, I mean, wind is independent of the entire rotation. I mean, weather systems are also rotating with the Earth, but in general, the atmosphere is the same reference frame as the Earth. It rotates with the Earth, and as a plane has to use the atmosphere to move, then its movement is always relative to the surface of the Earth. Does that make sense?
Okay, well, that's what I'm told. Well, yeah, well, that's what I'm told, and that's what I've kind of heard. But my question to
that's
to
because
that
it's
would
true.
be: so if I like levitated a helicopter, say, I don't know, 30 feet off the ground, what would kind of happen then?
It would stay in that spot 30 feet off the ground because the atmosphere is rotating with the Earth and the helicopter is using the atmosphere for lift.
Yes, but that just doesn't make sense, mate.
That's, again, personal incredulity. It's not my fault it doesn't make sense to you.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair enough, like, if that's what you think, like, but that's just how I interpret it. So, again, with the airplanes and stuff like that, when I've been on airplanes in the past, to me, you know, and I've spoken to a guy who is a pilot, a friend of my wife, and he's, like, you know, I told him about the nose of the airplane being tilted upwards, and he was like, sort of,
yeah, that's the angle of attack.
Yeah. And like, so I put the question to him. I said, like, if you nosed up flying the plane, yeah, then if you flew at that same altitude and you live on a spinning ball, why wouldn't you just fly off out into space? He said, well,
it's very simple. It's very simple because, right, very simple. An airplane maintains its altitude by balancing forces, right? So you've got forces of lift, of drag, of thrust, and of gravity pulling you down, right? So if you balance all of these forces by going a certain speed and having your control surfaces at a certain angle, right, then you're going to stay in a an altitude that is relative to the density of the air that you're in, right? If you then,
Well,
wait, let me finish. Don't interrupt. Let me finish. If you change your control surfaces to go up or down, then you're changing the forces applied. But if you keep all the forces steady, right? If you're at 20,000 feet, nose up slightly, which is how they fly, right? And you're balancing all the forces, because the atmosphere curves with the Earth, as long as you keep those forces all matching, the plane is going to stay in that density of air and naturally follow the curve of the Earth. Because it's going to stay perpendicular to the Earth at every point. All you got to do is match the forces to make sure you stay in the air based on the density, and that's it. Well, obviously the other forces include gravity.
Of the atmosphere.
Yeah. So, you know, if the atmosphere is denser, then there's other forces being applied. There's more drag and stuff, so you're going to need to apply more thrust. If the atmosphere is less dense, then you need less thrust to go through it, but more thrust to maintain enough lift from the wings, you know? You have to balance all these forces. And once you've got these forces balanced, you just stay at that altitude.
Yeah, and then you sort of in a constant motion then, but you're flying at say 35,000 feet.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you just fly off into space, maintaining that same 35?
Because the 35,000 feet is relative to the surface of the Earth. So the 35,000 feet also curves with the Earth.
No, mate, it just doesn't ring true in my head.
Right.
I mean,
so altitude is relative to the surface of the Earth. So you can be 35,000 feet above the North Pole, but you can also be 35,000 feet above the South Pole. Do you get it?
Well, I don't believe that.
And then 35,000 feet above the equator.
You know what I mean? So there's a problem there, like already. But
yeah, I'm just trying. It's a thought.
If that's your answer, then sounds. You know, I'll just.
I mean, that's how planes work. I mean, I know many pilots. There's many in the.
I'm not disputing how planes work. I'm just sort of asking, how does a plane flying at 500 miles an hour east to west work on a ball that is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour west to east? I mean,
again,
like,
because the atmosphere rotates with it, the atmosphere rotates with the
that's
Earth.
the answer, but
yeah,
I don't agree with the answer. You know,
whether you agree, that's the wonderful thing about physics, reality, and science is it doesn't care if you agree; it's still true.
Yeah, but I would like to see a practical demonstration of it, so I can at least get.
Just watch aeroplanes flying. Yeah. There's the practical demonstration.
Yeah, and the plane appears to just go out of your vision. You know, it doesn't appear to be
because it's in the atmosphere and it's rotating with you. Yeah. All right, next question.
Okay, right. Again, it's just simple as you like.
Sorry, what,
if they're all spinning at up to 1,000 miles per hour, as is claimed by the proponents of the globe theory,
no
how
one
come none of us just fly off into space?
The calculations I showed you earlier, that's why.
So we're back to mathematics again.
Yeah. So there is a force created by gravity that pulls us down towards the center of the Earth. To throw us off into space, we would have to have a force overcome that force created by gravity. Right?
Yeah. So is gravity a strong force or a
well, gravity isn't a force, gravity creates a force.
Oh, so gravity isn't a force?
No, gravity creates a force.
Okay, so gravity creates a force. And what's that force called that gravity creates?
The force of gravity.
So gravity creates a force called the force of gravity?
Correct, yes.
Right, okay.
The same way an engine would create a force called the force of the engine.
Right, yeah. Okay, go on.
Yeah. So, because gravity creates that force that pulls you towards the center of the Earth, to be flung off into space, there would have to be a greater force created than the force created by gravity. And that would be centrifugal force. And as we showed earlier, the centrifugal, well, we showed what the acceleration was, right? But the force due to that is 2.3896 newtons, which is a lot less than the force due to gravity on a 12-stone person. A lot less.
Okay. Yep.
So that's why you aren't flung off into space, is because there's such a small centrifugal acceleration acting against the downwards acceleration due to gravity, right? This is the equator, right? The 0.03136 meters per second squared. That's at the equator. But at the equator, the downward acceleration due to gravity is 9.81 meters per second. Well, actually, it's 9.79 meters per second squared at the equator, right? So you compare 9.8 with 0.03, right? And that's why we are not being flung off into space.
Okay, so
Simple as
the
that.
answer then, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, again, unless that was being practically demonstrated, so could you give us a practical demonstration of that then?
Yeah, spin something the same speed as Earth and see how fast things fling off of it.
So spin something at 1,000 miles an hour?
No. Spin something at 15 degrees per hour.
Okay, so, and then what would you kind of be measuring then?
You measure how fast things fly off of it when you spin something the same speed as Earth, which is 15 degrees per hour.
So, just say I'm 12 stone, yeah?
Yeah.
And then I stand on, say, for instance, a roundabout and spin that at 15 degrees per hour.
All right, let's
kind
calculate it.
Right, I'm going to be able to measure the speed that I'm spinning off the roundabout, but why wouldn't it be spinning off the Earth? See, it's
because I just told you, because this is the acceleration that the spinning Earth is putting on you. This is what is throwing you away from the Earth. 0.03136. But in the opposite direction to that, there's 9.8.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Bigger number,
makes sense.
Bigger force.
You know what I mean?
Not theoretically, centrifugal acceleration is something that's easy to calculate.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Theoretically, but practically, in the real world, how could that be demonstrated?
Spin something the same speed as Earth and see how fast things fly off of it.
Yeah, but we're not flying off the Earth, are we?
No, exactly. And neither would anything else if you span something the same speed as Earth. That's my point. If you got a roundabout and you span it the same speed as Earth, nothing would fly off of it because there wouldn't be enough centrifugal acceleration.
See, we'll back to this, 1,000 miles an hour versus 15 degrees or whatever, you know what I mean? So
yeah, because that's just tangential velocity. That's not a spinning. You don't spin in miles per hour. That's just a straight line speed, which is part of the calculations. You can use that to help calculate what forces and acceleration you feel. You can do it without tangential speed as long as you know the rotational speed.
Yeah.
But I mean,
well, I suppose
there's a relationship between.
If I'm honest.
What you got to understand is there's a relationship between how fast something is rotating and how far away you are from the center, and the forces that would be applied. It doesn't really matter how fast you're going in a straight line. That isn't really where the forces come from. The forces come from, on Earth, gravity acts as a centripetal acceleration, which is something that pulls towards the center, right? So imagine a string with a weight on the end, and you're swinging it around, right?
Yeah.
Now, to you, it would feel like there was a force pulling whatever's on the end of that string away from you, right?
Yeah.
Right? And as you spin that string is creating a force in the opposite direction. And that's called centripetal
but
force.
The Earth's not
right?
attached to a piece of string, is it?
No. Gravity acts as a centripetal force in this case, right? But what would happen...
So what part does the string have to play in it then?
Well, that's what I'm saying. What would happen if, as you were swinging that string with the weight on the end, what would happen if the string disappeared? What would happen to that weight?
It would just fly off.
In what direction?
Whatever it's pointing in at the time, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's a tangential velocity, right? That's what we're talking about, okay? Now, that's on Earth, right? That string and weight is being swung once, one whole circle in 24 hours.
So what part as the, so are you kind of saying that a piece of string is like gravity?
Yeah, because on Earth, gravity acts as the centripetal force.
Okay, so gravity is made up of what, 90% antimatter, is it, or something? What's the theory?
No,
behind that?
gravity is just a force of an apparent force of attraction between objects.
Yeah, but there's two forms of gravity, isn't it? Like Newtonian.
No, there's just gravity
Einsteinian,
described in
all that
different
stuff.
ways. Einsteinian
that's
gravity
what I'm saying.
describes it
It's
as a
like
warping of space-time due to
descriptions, isn't it?
massive
So
objects.
This guy's saying that, he's saying that, this guy's saying he's Catholic, he's saying he's Protestant.
Yeah, well, that's
thing
because Oakley
me,
and
I don't
Dell
know.
and Sleeping Warrior don't understand, the nuances of Einsteinian
other
gravity.
People make, like, other people's, like, opinions and theories and ideas, that's got nothing to do with me. I'm just talking from my perspective,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So,
So,
so I don't...
Gravity is what it is. Gravity is an apparent force of attraction between all objects. That's all we need to worry about it. Why that happens isn't really important.
Yeah, but see, to me, mate, it's a bit like someone saying, listen, my God says this, so you must believe what my God says. That's my understanding of it, you know what I mean? Because
God isn't something that's
I'm being told
verifiable
by
and
that
testable.
Isn't
God isn't
true,
something that's
and what I'm being
verifiable
told
and
by
testable.
This guy
but
isn't bringing true.
hold on.
What do you mean? So something
Okay.
doesn't sound right. Me senses.
Right.
me
So
senses are telling me
here's the thing.
bullshit
God
might be afoot.
God isn't verifiable or testable. Gravity is.
Well, that's not according to what the stories I've heard, and even the so-called
what have you
experts
heard?
themselves. Well, they say that we don't know what it is according to
Yeah, well, it doesn't mean that we
all
can't.
you know what I mean?
Doesn't mean that we can't observe it and test it and predict and do science with it.
Also, you don't know what it is, but you can observe it, but you don't know what it is, but you can use it and test it. See, it doesn't sound like
because it's predictable.
It sounds like God. It sounds like that. Something that you can't.
No. You can't do science.
your
You can't verify
hands
that
on.
God exists. You can verify gravity
No.
exists. You can measure it. You can
Sorry,
test
mate,
it.
honestly,
Gravity is one of the most measured and verified phenomenon in existence.
Well, I've never seen it.
You've never seen what?
Gravity being measured, apart from when they say something falls to the floor at 9.8
Ever
meters
heard
per
of
second
the
squared,
Cavendish
whatever.
experiment?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's gravity being measured for you.
Yeah, but again, it's just some owl fella in a barn, isn't it? With behind closed
Well, that's when it
doors
was
and
first
stuff.
done, but it's been done. It's been done millions of times since then.
Well, that's what I've heard.
I've got
but-
two friends on YouTube that built their own. Actually,
Okay, then, well, these two friends on YouTube must know more about how the whale works than I do. What do you mean?
I would assume so. Yes.
Right. Right, so again, mate, I'll just have to agree to disagree as per usual, I'm afraid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, ignorance.
Okay, so
okay.
on to gravity, unfortunately, right?
Gravity.
So if gravity is a supposed force pulling everything to the centre of the globe,
Yes.
then how come when I blow smoke out of my mouth, or if you don't mind me saying, you blow smoke up Simon Dan and Professor Dave's ass, that the smoke will rise up on its own and then eventually dissipate into the atmosphere? How
Yeah,
come?
because other forces exist. It's simple. Gravity creates one force, the force
Yeah,
of
so we're
gravity.
back to this dynamic, the invisible.
Well, you want me to answer the question
don't
or
know
not?
what it is.
Do you want me to answer
Okay,
the question?
okay. Yeah.
Right, okay, so gravity creates one force, which on Earth pulls things down towards the center, but other forces exist. One other force that exists is called the buoyant force, which is a direct result of gravity forcing in the opposite direction. And because the smoke is less dense than the air and the volume of the air that it displaces, it creates a force in the opposite direction to gravity called the buoyant force, meaning that it goes up. Also, heat rises. Smoke is less dense. It's going to go up because it's hotter, and the buoyant force due to gravity is pushing it up as well as air currents and stuff. It's why helium balloons go up. Because it's why you can't force a football underwater, because the buoyant force is a result of gravity. In fact, to calculate what the buoyant force is, you have to include gravity. It's how we know how to work submarines.
And these are all things that can be practically demonstrated, yeah?
Yeah. But buoyancy can definitely be practically demonstrated.
So what I'm
100%.
asking for, mate, is can you give me a practical demonstration of what gravity is then?
Can I give you a practical demonstration of what gravity is? Yes, it is the apparent attraction between all mass that is proportional to the mass of the two objects and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them.
Okay, I'll provisionally accept that, but can you show me it?
Yeah, the Cavendish experiments.
So we're back to some old fella in a barn 200 years ago?
Again, it wasn't just him that did it, but anyone can do it, and that experiment demonstrates what we say.
Well, I disagree, mate. I mean,
on what basis do you disagree that the Cavendish experiment is a demonstration of gravity?
Well, how does it prove that it's pulling everything to the centre of the Earth, for starters?
Because it follows Newton's law of universal gravitation, Fg equals g m1 m2 over r squared, right?
Right, okay. So how does it prove it then?
Because it matches that exactly. We can use that formula to predict what is going to happen in the Cavendish experiment.
And what happened in the Cavendish experiments?
Mass attracted mass.
How?
Do you know what the Cavendish experiment is?
Vaguely, like that guy in the barn, isn't it? Who in the experiment, apparently behind closed doors, and then observed it from another barn. Yeah, something like that.
Not really. No, but do you know what the actual experiment is? Like,
how to measure fucking gravity or something? Apparently, but I don't know. Come on.
Right. Okay. So the Cavendish experiment is very simple. You have a wire, which is called a torsion wire, right? And it has a bar attached to it, called the torsion bar, all right?
Okay.
It hangs down, right? And this bar balances. On the end of this bar, you have two little masses of whatever material you want, all right?
Yeah.
So hanging on a wire, right, a bar with two masses on the end. And what you do is in the horizontal plane to where these two masses are, you move a larger mass towards it. And what happens is this torsion bar twists towards the larger masses. So the masses on the end of the bar move towards the larger masses. And you can measure this as torque in the torsion wire and as a deflection of the actual direction that it's facing. And you can predict how much that deflection should be based on the mass at the end of the bar and the mass that you've introduced. It's very simple.
Right. Okay. So if I provisionally accept what you're saying there is true, I'll put this to you. Can you give me a practical demonstration of that now?
Of the Cavendish experiment?
I get a... Yeah, just like...
I mean, you can go to Blue Marble Science's website, the YouTube channel, where he's documented the entire process of building, testing, and experimenting with his Cavendish experiment. You could also go to BM Furbal's YouTube channel, where when he was on deployment in Korea, he built his own one in his flat there. Okay,
could you just give us, like, say, a 2-minute demonstration now?
What, you want me to build you a Cavendish experiment?
No, just show me the experiments that these people...
Okay, I mean, you could go to Blue Marble channel yourself if you like.
Well, like, you know, if you sort of broadcast it now so people can actually see what it is, and then, like, you know, if I'm wrong, then I'm prepared to say, yeah, okay, you know, that kind of makes sense. You know what I mean? Or that...
I mean...
So, you know,
he's
what you're saying is the theory behind it, but I just like to see the practical side of it.
He is building his experiment. I mean, he's got... a whole playlist of you know, the Cavendish experiment stuff.
Okay, can we just like kind of see the end results of it, like, you know, so the actual proof of
let me get up the... Oh, he doesn't create playlists. Blue, that's annoying. And let me just search Cavendish. He hasn't got his channel organized very well, so I can search it. Cavendish testing, Cavendish episode 6, Cavendish episode 5. Oh yeah, his apparatus detected an earthquake, which was quite good.
I think I could I could detect that, mate.
Well, I detected one on the other side of the world.
All right, okay.
My internet seems to be going slow, but I mean, he's got a whole bunch of the videos over his channel. You can go and check them out. Where he goes through the.
Well, no, but
here's it happening.
Demonstration of your claim that you made. Then because like, I'll
I mean,
provisionally
this is it. This is it happening.
Say, but,
you know.
Right. Okay. So what's this now?
Well, this is showing this laser dot here. It is moving when the masses are introduced, right?
So is this the proof of gravity? Is it?
Well, this is matching the predictions.
Okay.
But again, this is just one part. There's hundreds and hundreds of hours. You know, I couldn't just literally pick out one part right now because it's hours and hours and hours of testing and analyzing data.
Yeah, but there should be like a end result, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. The end result was that he was. The end result was that he was able to calculate the gravitational constant from the data that he gathered. That was the end result.
See, so it's mathematical again, isn't it? Right, I mean, it's like
yeah, but that was
world.
from physical empirical data. It wasn't just maths. It was data from a physical thing that happened. That he then used that data to confirm what we've been told about gravity. He did it himself.
Which is,
he measured it and then used his measurements to calculate something which we are told by other people.
Well, that's it then, isn't it? That's
simple.
Yeah, that's the story. Do you believe it or do you not?
I don't have beliefs. I base my position on logic and evidence, and all the logic and evidence would suggest the Earth is a rotating globe.
See, I base my position on understanding it. So maybe it's me that I just don't understand it. It could be that,
Possibly.
I'm open to that. But I'm saying what I'm being told doesn't ring true.
That's because you don't understand it. And I'm
maybe.
not being mean. I'm not insulting you when I say this, but you're ignorant of physics. You don't understand physics, so you don't understand why a lot of the things are the way they are. Yeah, maybe at first glance some things don't make sense, right? At first glance, things can be complicated, but the universe has no obligation to make sense to you.
Well, no. What I'm being told doesn't make sense. I can sort of understand the positions that people take and the theories that they put forward, but I've still got questions about these things that are being presented in the first place. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm probably not going to get on that kind of level, mate, you know what I mean? But I used to love all that stuff, all the theoretical black hole, parallel universe, Big Bang theory. I grew up on that, if you know what I mean, loving all that kind of stuff. And as I've got older, it's like, nah, it doesn't ring true anymore. You know what I mean? It sounds like I'm being fed.
I mean, for me, as I got older, I was able to test more and more of it, and it made more and more sense.
Yeah, I was like the opposite, where like at first I loved it, and now it's like, nah, doesn't seem right. It doesn't sit right, if you know what I mean. That's what I'd say.
Oh.
I'm not saying I'm right, because I know on your channel it's going to be 99% people who believe that they live on a spinning ball. Me personally,
I do see a few of your friends in the chat chatting up a storm.
That's good.
Right, I think we've gone through all the questions, right?
No, I've got
there's still more.
A couple left. Yeah, if you can be arsed, like.
Yeah, no, it's
getting
cool.
a bit bored myself, to be honest. Like.
Well, we can go through the super chats now if you want, and just see if there's questions now you want to answer.
Well, can I make a quick cup of coffee in there?
Yeah, that's fine. I do need to grab a drink myself.
Yeah.
All right, guys, back in 2 minutes, and we'll go through super chats. Okay. Yeah, right.
Oh, we still live, yeah?
Yes, we are. Yeah, good. Right. Now, Mr. Cheswick, we can always do a round two if you want to go through the other questions another time.
Well, I've got a couple left, really.
All right, well, let's go through the
it.
last couple of questions, and then we'll read the super chats. So, over to you again.
Okay, so if we live on 1,000 miles per hour spinning ball, as is the claim being put to me by the proponents of the globe, excuse me, then my question is simply this. Why don't the oceans of the earth fall off the bottom and the sides of the globe as it would do if you poured water over a football? Now, it sounds like simple and, slap the face palm and all that kind of stuff, but it's a serious question.
Where
Why
would the
don't
water be
oceans
falling to?
of the earth just fall off into outer space?
Where would they fall to?
Into outer space, underneath the globe. So
Why? Because down isn't south. Down on Earth is towards the center of Earth. Gravity creates a force that pulls the oceans of Earth towards the center of the Earth.
Okay, to sum it up in layman's terms, the reason why the oceans don't fall off into space is because of
gravity.
Okay. See, so we're back to that.
The verifiable empirical thing that's been measured countless times. Yes.
I know, but it's, you know what I mean. So can you see the problem that you've got?
Not really, no, because what you just did was strawman the globe model,
no, it didn't.
right? Yeah, you did, because nothing about the globe says that water should fall towards the south of the Earth. That's not what the claim is. The claim of the Earth, the claim of the globe, is that gravity pulls towards the center, and so all the oceans of Earth are being pulled towards the center. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So the reason why the oceans don't fall off into outer space is because the oceans are being pulled in. Yeah.
By gravity, yes.
Yeah. So is gravity a strong force or a weak force?
Gravity creates a force that is proportional to the mass of two things and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them.
Okay, so is it strong or weak?
I just told you it depends. The strength of the force created by gravity is proportional to the mass of two objects and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. That is how strong gravity is. Okay, so if you have something that is very, very, very big, right, hold on. If you have something that is very, very, very big, like Earth, it creates a strong force of gravity.
Okay.
Okay?
And if you have something very small, it's a small force of gravity.
Yeah. Every bit of mass in the universe is attracting every other bit of mass in the universe, according to Newton's law of universal gravitational attraction.
Yeah. Now can this be demonstrated in the real world?
Yeah, the Cavendish experiment. We've been there.
Okay, so we're back to that. So we're back to one experiment proves.
I mean, no, there's countless experiments of gravity. That's just a great one that I like to use.
Okay, so what's the other countless experiments then?
Well, again, we could go through a bunch of scientific papers if you like. I mean, off the top of my head, you've got
practical, real-world applications that can be applied.
Every engineer that builds a bridge has to take the force created by gravity into account.
I'm not disputing bridges, right? But to me, a guy building a bridge doesn't prove gravity, if you know what I mean.
Apart from the fact that he has to take gravity into account when he's building the bridge.
Well, that's what I'm being told. But I don't take gravity into account when I'm building a kid's toy house. Or
how many bridges have you built?
So it's like, how many bridges have I built?
Yeah.
I'd say in my life. The question should be how many bridges have I broken?
Yeah. See, a child's toy isn't going to need to take into account the force created by gravity. A bridge that has tons and tons of things going over it, which means more mass, which means a stronger force being applied, absolutely has to be able to take into account the forces applied by gravity.
So
gravity's a thing.
What size?
Gravity exists. It's
Okay.
measurable. It's testable. It's predictable.
Okay, right. Okay, so my question to that would be, at what point do you begin to test for gravity then? So, for instance, if I build my little child doll's house, I don't take gravity into account, do I? So when I scale it up, at what point would I take gravity into account?
When you would have to take into account the structural support that walls could provide to hold
That's
up
not
things
gravity,
above it.
is it? That's like...
Oh, no, you would have to say, actually, you do need gravity into account because gravity would allow you to be able to calculate.
For the
wait, hold on,
house.
let me finish, right? You would have to know the force created by gravity acting on everything sitting on top of a structural support, right?
Well,
you have to know the weight of things, what forces is being applied.
Right, and none of them have got a fucking clue what the force of gravity is. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but the people that designed the houses that they build, the architects, certainly would.
Well, you know, I disagree with that.
Oh, you disagree with architects? Fine, go and ask an architect.
I disagree with architects taking into account gravity when they're building houses.
I mean, again, architects would disagree with you, but you know.
Well, then we'll have to get those architects here, especially the ones from architects and engineers for 9/11. Especially those architects.
No, we're not going there.
Ah, you see, eh? They're not the approved architects, are they? Eh?
We're just not talking about that, Harry, please.
Yeah, but that's just...
You're aware of what YouTube does.
They're also architects, if you know what I mean. So if there is architects with different opinions, yeah, can we agree on that?
No. Architects will, if they're doing their job properly, they're all going to agree on... I mean, they're probably they probably disagree on the perfect design for buildings, but any architect that is building a structure big enough to have to take gravity into account absolutely will. But that was the answer to your question anyway. So next question. One more, is it?
Okay, well, I was going to ask you if you could give us a scaled down practical demonstration of the claim, but I don't think I'm going to get that now, so should we move on?
So what would you mean a scaled down? Like a smaller version of Earth holding oceans on?
No, just a scaled down demonstration of your claim, if you know what I mean.
The Cavendish
So
experiment.
claim
There's a whole bunch of
so
different
could you
scales the Cavendish experiment's done at.
Yeah. So could you scale the Cavendish experiment down and it would still apply?
Yeah, absolutely. They did one recently, the smallest Cavendish experiment ever, where they used tiny gold balls, like a micron across.
Okay, can you put that up for people to see?
I've done it many times. I'll just grab that out. Smallest Cavendish in the world.
So basically, the Cavendish experiment is is a huge point in the theory of gravity. Yeah. So what part does like Einstein and Newton come into it then? Why is everything so focused on this experiment that this guy done in a barn?
Because it's a fantastic. Not everything's focused on it, but it is a fantastic evidence of gravity.
Be a huge player in the
because it's a fantastic way to demonstrate gravity.
Yeah, but wouldn't you think that what Newton did or Einstein did would be a better?
Well, it was Newton's laws that helped.
Guys accredited with the force.
Newton just developed an equation based on observations. That was all. But what happens with the Cavendish experiments is predictable using Newton's law. Then Einstein came along and gave us a better explanation for why it happens.
So this is the proof of gravity, yeah? Is that basically...
I mean, science doesn't prove things, it's evidence of gravity.
Okay, so it's the evidence of it, so it's...
It's one evidence of gravity,
many.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. And what does gravity actually prove? That it can pull oceans to the centre of the Earth, yeah?
Yeah, one second. Let me. My 2 cents in the chat. You said gravity isn't a force, but causes a force that pulls. What is the name of that force that pulls? It's called the force of gravity. It's the force created by gravity. It's easy to understand. The same way that an engine isn't a force, but an engine creates a force. The force of the engine. The engine isn't a force, but it creates a force. Gravity creates a force. The force of gravity. It is created by gravity.
Yeah, but it probably creates like turbulence or something, and then you could measure that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's called gravitational waves. Absolutely, 100%.
It seems to be invisible and untestable and unmeasurable.
It's not. I just explained how it's completely measurable and testable and predictable. And you're right, it does go in waves. We use LIGO to measure gravitational waves.
Again, mate, just none of it rings true. So should we move on from that? Yeah.
Personal incredulity. Right, Roger. Next.
Okay, right. If you say so, sir. Right. So my last main question is this. I've got a couple of quick ones after this, but my last main one is this. If we really do live on 1,000 miles per hour spinning space ball, but aimlessly in a vacuum, with bend the oceans and upside down Australians, then how do certain rivers like the Nile flow uphill on a globe?
They don't flow uphill. North isn't up and south isn't
ball,
down. No.
The Nile flows
north isn't up. North isn't up and south isn't down.
Okay, that's ridiculous, mate. Come on.
No,
please.
it's not. Seriously.
Why is it called the North Pole then?
Because it's the north. It's not up. It's north.
Okay. So what direction does the River Nile flow in?
North.
Right. So is the North Pole? Is the Nile more south of the North Pole than the pole? Sorry, yeah. So the River Nile flows north on a ball. It's like.
Yes.
So
because
the question is,
how it flows based on altitude. It flies. It doesn't go up. It doesn't go uphill. It goes downhill. Because remember, on Earth, down is towards the center of Earth, not towards the South Pole. Towards the center of Earth.
It doesn't make sense, mate. You know what I mean? It's like
it doesn't make sense to you. It makes sense to everyone else that understands it. It's perfect.
Okay, this is the stuff that we got taught in school, if you know what I mean. So I kind of understand it on that level. And if you remember, I used to believe in the globe for like 40 odd years of my life. You know what I mean? So
yeah, but
it's like a lot of the stuff I've heard before.
But the fact that you don't understand that north isn't up and south isn't down makes this an issue.
Right, I'm saying the more I begin to understand how the world works, the less I believe in the globe, if you know what I mean.
But clearly you don't understand how the world works. Not being offensive here, but you don't.
I think I do. I think I know exactly how the world works.
Then you wouldn't think that north is up and south is down, which is not.
Yeah, but I'm saying on a ball, the North Pole is north, right? Or on
a
compass,
not up.
I'm going
north, not up.
Yeah, but for the River Nile to be flowing north, it's got to be flowing uphill.
No. North isn't up, so it's not flowing uphill.
On a ball, it is.
No, it's not. North, up is away from the surface. Down is towards the center. North isn't up towards. You know, if you're traveling north, you're not going uphill, right? Elevation is relative to the surface of Earth, right? So even on a ball, right? Say this is the curve of a ball here. You can have a mountain, right? And the water's going to flow down the mountain, even though that's north. Because it's going towards the center of the ball. I mean.
Yeah, but that's flowing down, isn't it? Yeah. So
down towards the center, not north or south.
No, it's flowing down towards being level. So the water or the ocean of the entire Earth is level because we know that water is always level.
Well, it's not always level, is it?
In its natural state, it is.
Not really.
Well, it is, isn't it?
In its natural state, with no forces being applied to it, water is a sphere.
Water is a sphere?
Yeah, in its absolute natural state, with zero acceleration being applied to it, water forms a sphere.
So what happens when you collect those bodies of water together? Are you saying that it all just turns into a sphere?
If there's no other forces being applied, it would just form a bigger and bigger sphere, yeah. It's called hydrostatic equilibrium. But on Earth, there is other forces being applied, isn't there? There's the force created by gravity, which is stopping it being a sphere and pushing it towards the center of the Earth.
Allegedly, yeah?
No, measurably, factually.
Well, I'd say allegedly, but
again,
that's where we
it can be measured. Just because you disagree with the fact that the measurements exist doesn't stop the measurements existing.
Yeah, that's true. But it still doesn't mean that the measurements are correct.
Well, they are correct because they're predictable.
Okay then, well, create something using gravity.
Create something using gravity.
Yeah.
Okay, there is a massive water feature in France that the royals built, and the entire thing is powered by gravity. Submarines use gravity in real time to map the ocean floor. Did you not know that?
This is all like...
Right,
Nope.
so
This is like...
in the 1960s, they needed a way to have submarines be completely silent. The thing about submarines is they're designed for stealth,
Okay.
right? But what's the main way that submarines look around is using sonar, right?
Okay. Right.
But sonar isn't passive. Other subs and ships can detect your sonar pings, right?
Okay.
So how can a submarine navigate completely without using its sonar? The way that it does it is by using gravity. It detects the minute fluctuations, the minute differences in the gravitational field of Earth based on, mountains underwater and stuff and how much mass is below it. It actually uses gravity to map the floor of the ocean in real time so that they can be completely passive, so that nothing else, there's no signals going out, yet they're still able to navigate accurately. And that's an application of gravity in real life.
And what's that machine called?
A gravimeter.
Gravimeter.
Yeah.
Can you bring one up? Just like I've never seen one. I'd like to see one.
I've had PhD Tony on displaying one that he works with quite often. Again, that's something I can send you the details of it later. But gravimeters are also used to by satellites in space to detect mineral deposits under the ground, oil and minerals, and companies pay people to use gravity to detect these things.
Oh, it's an amazing force of so much wonder and awe.
I mean, again, it's completely predictable.
Pull the oceans to the center of the earth, detect this, submarines, you know what I mean? It's the best gravity, the best force ever. Yeah.
It's pretty damn useful, that's for sure. It's very useful for a lot of things.
I'm sure it is amazing, including mind control. What a great...
No, you don't need to control anyone's mind because, again, you can test it yourself. You don't need to believe anyone that gravity exists. You don't need to believe anyone that tells you that gravity is real. You don't need to believe them. You can test it yourself.
Oh, I can, mate.
You can. Build your own Cavendish.
Yeah, but then I'm just like in that club then, with all them bleeding nutters.
But if you don't believe it works, do it yourself.
But I'm saying it doesn't prove jack shit to me.
It demonstrates exactly what we say gravity is, though.
Well, I disagree, mate. So, again, we're just going to keep coming back to that brick wall. So, should we move on?
Yeah. You said you got a couple of little questions?
Yeah. Right. So, how did you work out the size of the entire universe? You said it was 93 billion light years or 28.5 gigaparsecs. Yeah.
Because that's what we can see.
No. You said that you've worked it out yet, the size of the entire universe.
I didn't say that I'd worked it out. I just said that's what it is.
Or 28.5 gigaparsecs. Yeah.
Yeah. That's how far that we can see of the observable universe.
No. We can't see it. I can't see it.
Well, that's because you don't have a Hubble telescope.
What? I can see 28.5 gigaparsecs. 93 billion light years.
Yeah, we can see the light from the stars that far away.
So one light year is 5.5 trillion miles, yeah?
Roughly.
Yeah, okay. So what's 5.5 trillion times 93 billion?
A big number.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the
I'm
size
sorry,
of,
a big number is scary to you?
Well, no, I'm just curious how you arrive at these big numbers.
Because that's how far we can see, and we can use spectroscopy to measure wavelengths of light and see where they come from.
So are you telling me that you can see for 5.5 trillion times 93 billion.
Vision doesn't have a limit.
Yeah, but you're saying that we can see the size of the universe. Yeah?
Well, we can see the observable universe. It's probably bigger than the observable universe.
Okay,
that's just what we can see.
So 5 trillion times 93 billion. That's how far man is claiming that they can see. Yeah. And
based on our observations, yes.
And you said that you've also measured that, yeah?
Not that I've measured it, no.
Well, that's what you said in like a previous claim.
No, I've never said that I've measured it. I've just said that's what it is. That's what we as humanity has measured it. Not me.
Honestly, Craig, I can play you actually saying that, you know what I mean? Because
yeah, I've seen the video. I'm not saying that I've measured it. I'm saying that's what it is because we've measured it.
Well, when you say we,
humanity,
how can you include yourself in that?
Because I'm a human, mostly.
Yeah, but if if I say we won the Champions League, it's like I wasn't playing for Liverpool, if you know what I mean. I didn't win the Champions
No, but
League.
as a Liverpool fan, you would absolutely say, as a Liverpool fan, you would absolutely say we won the Championship League, right? But we, as in humanity, that's what I mean when I say we. I am a human. I am part of humanity. We have done this.
Okay, then. So would you also say that we executed these people in Rwanda or something like that?
Yeah, humanity's done some fucking shit things. Yes.
Yeah, well, like, I don't want to be a part of that. If you know what I mean.
Well, you can't change your species, unfortunately.
Whoa. I say, listen, if that's humanity, then I don't want to be a part of that shit, man.
Unfortunately, you can't decide what species you are. That's not something we can decide.
Yeah, but
no, you can't decide that you're a different species, Mr. Cheswick.
Of course I can. Why can't I?
Because you can't just identify as whatever species you want. You are a human, whether you like it or not.
Well, apparently you can identify as a cat, and a man can become a woman and all this shit now. So why can't
a man can become a woman, but they don't stop being a human.
Not being a part of a society that chooses to like fucking
we're humans.
Itself.
We're humans. I mean? That's all that matters. When I say we,
no, I mean humans. I'm saying maybe some of us have evolved on from that, if you know what I mean. And we're sort of past all that shit now.
Yeah, it doesn't stop us being humans.
Well, like maybe there's a newer evolution, you know what I mean, of consciousness and this kind of stuff like that, where people can evolve on from all that shit and being stuck.
Yeah, but right now we're humans.
Institutions and all that stuff, mate. None of it rings true. What do you mean? It's all like it all
seems
being
like a human doesn't ring true.
Tale.
What the actual fuck?
Oh, it's all fucking pie in the sky garbage. If you ask me, you know what I mean. Well, I'm not saying I'm right. That's my opinion.
Anything else?
Well, you've said previously on numerous occasions that you've calculated the distance to the sun yourself. Would you agree or disagree with that?
Yeah, I've done that.
Okay. So would you mind telling me exactly how you did that?
We used the transit of Venus across the sun.
Okay, and how did you establish the distance to Venus?
Well, the distance to Venus has been measured with radar.
What kind of radar?
Radar waves.
Radar waves?
Yeah. A radar, we have literally pinged Venus and calculated the distance to it, so we know how far away Venus is.
Is this an episode of Star Trek or something?
No, we've also radar pinged the sun, in the 60s.
Yeah, okay. So you've personally pinged Venus, yeah?
No, radar has. I haven't used radar to ping Venus, but radar has.
Okay, and how did you calculate that into your experiment then?
Well, because we know how far away Venus is. If you get if you get two places on Earth and both observe the transit of Venus across the sun at the same time, you can calculate the parallax and use that to calculate the distance to the sun.
Okay, so you've personally measured it at 93 million miles, yeah?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Is that 93 million to the meter?
No, it's a variable. It changes throughout the year.
Okay, so
Earth's orbit is an ellipse, so there's points where it's further away, there's points where it's closer.
So when it's at its furthest point, is it 93 million exactly, or is there any like odd million miles?
Again, it's variable. It changes throughout the year because Earth's orbit is an ellipse.
Yeah, so the point I'm saying is when the sun is at its furthest point in that ellipse, yeah, is that 93 million miles? Yeah.
I'm not sure. Right, its furthest is about 94.5 million miles.
94.4, so it's gone up.
Well, yeah, again, because the average is about 93, all right? But Earth's orbit it's not a circle, it's an ellipse. So it's further away at some points and it's closer.
93 million, yeah?
I can't remember the exact figure that I got when I did it. It comported with what we were told.
Yeah, but that's what you're told. I mean,
but it matched my observations and measurements matched what we were told.
Right. Okay. So, where's your measurements and observations? Are they
probably with my school project like when I did it?
And have you got any evidence of this to present?
Well, I mean, I don't have everything that I did 20 years ago. No.
Okay, so you measured it 20 years ago?
Well, whenever there was a transit of Venus, early 2000s.
Yeah, well, you can't remember what the exact measurements are?
I can't remember the exact number that I got now.
Yeah, but it was roughly 93 million.
It matched with what it was supposed to be.
Which was?
Whatever it was. I can't remember the exact figures. That's what I just said.
So it could have been 94.5?
It's whatever it was supposed to be at the time. It matched it.
Okay. Right.
And again, this is something anyone can do.
Okay, well, you've also said, I think this is my final point, mate, and then we can wrap it all up then. So you said, oh, and by the way, the edge of our universe is about 14.26 gigaparsecs or 46.5 billion light years.
Yeah.
So my question would be, with 1 light year supposedly being about 5.5 trillion miles, can you tell me how many quadrillion miles there are in 46.5 billion light years?
No.
And okay, that's fair enough. Can you tell me exactly how you managed to measure the edge of the universe?
Again, this is the observable unit. It's the same question as before. That's just the radius instead of the diameter. That's half of the numbers that we were talking about before.
Okay, so it's just as simple as that, yeah.
Yeah.
So can you understand, mate, why people like myself might be skeptical of this, at least?
Not at all, no. Well, no, I can, yes, a lack of education.
Okay, well, that's fair enough if you say that, but, I'd put it the opposite way. I'd say it's a lack of indoctrination, why people like myself...
Education isn't indoctrination, though. Education isn't indoctrination.
But if you look back at the institutions of education and where it stems back to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's irrelevant. It's education is what you make of it.
Institutions and all stuff like that.
Yeah, who cares about that? Education is what you make of it. I did my education so that I could understand the world around me and operate and maintain a nuclear reactor on board a submarine. I wasn't indoctrinated into that. I studied and worked hard so that I had those understandings in my 2 degrees.
Yeah, that part I can accept, and I'm sure there's lots of real world practical applications that would apply to that, and those guys are all cool. I haven't got a problem with any of that. The only problem I've got is with the theoretical side of it. All that, once it starts spinning off into like billions and trillions.
Well, everything starts theoretical, right?
I'm just like, I'm out of that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but everything starts theoretical, right? You've got to have an idea to test.
Yeah, but it should be applied science, if you know what I mean. So it can be applied in the real world.
Applied science and theoretical science both have their places in science. A lot of the ideas we get from theoretical physics and theoretical sciences, we wouldn't have the stuff in applied science if we didn't initially come up with the ideas in a theoretical capacity.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But that can still be applied science in the real world. What I'm saying is all this gravity stuff and all that, it's all
Gravity is very much applied
on,
science in the real world.
Well, not to me,
when you have to take it into account for massive engineering projects like London Underground.
And well, again, that's a claim that you made previously.
It's a fact, honestly, it's a fact. Anyone can look it up.
You know, yeah, but I'm sure, like, you know, the next guy who's saying, "Oh, this is a fact." Everyone's got facts and stuff, but until it's like sort of obvious that a child can see it, you know, I'll choose.
Well, again, the universe has zero obligation.
That's just.
Here's the thing: the universe has zero obligation to make sense to you.
Yeah. I understand that.
Flat Out says, "I can't take it anymore. This guy is embarrassing. He needs to get out there and do more experimentationalizations." He's a flat earther you should look at. He's great, Flat Out. Right. I think we're about done, and I've got a bunch of super chats to get through. But before we do, I just wanted to ask you, do you still think that there is a military movement on YouTube to fight the Flat Earth?
I think there's a military movement worldwide.
To fight the Flat Earth?
Never mind just on YouTube. It's about control of information and stuff like that. That's how I see it, you know what I mean? It's like,
so do you think the military are actively trying to hide the fact that the Earth is flat?
Yeah, probably, because to me that would be like the ultimate thing if it was true. So just say theoretically the Earth was flat, then from an intelligence point of view, you'd never want that shit getting out. You know what I mean? And I think that's why the topic's being censored and stuff like that, because it's true, you know what I mean?
I mean, it's not really being censored, it's being deprioritized in the algorithm. But do you still think that I am paid by the military specifically to fight the Flat Earth?
Well, you know, I believe that there's paid military out there, you know what I mean, who are in place on, say, like Twitter, Facebook, YouTube.
Oh my God, no, there's not.
It's kind of obvious, isn't it? Like, you know, you'd want to control, or you'd want to take control of the flow of the information and control that, you know what I mean? Or like I would anyway, if I was in charge. What I'm saying, the way that they go about it isn't very clever in my understanding of it, you know what I mean? It's like... Yeah,
they're so clever they can hide the shape of the world, but so dumb that anyone can kind of spot it after watching a YouTube video, huh?
Well, you know, we'd have to agree to disagree on that, but I just see it like kind of differently, mate. And again, I'm not saying I'm right, that's just my interpretation of it.
Okay, well, this has certainly been a very interesting conversation. And we haven't shouted at each other, which is great. So let me go through these super chats and see what questions we got for you. Please bear in mind that some of these may be quite offensive and horrible towards you. Please don't try and take it personally.
Fine. Don't worry about it.
Obi-Wan for $10 says, "Why is this idiot so concerned about drunk astronauts? If they don't really go to space, who the frick cares?"
No, it's just a piss take, isn't it? You know, I don't take flat Earth and space and the globe and all this kind of shit serious. To me, the whole thing is a circus, so I just kind of treat it as that.
Flat Earth is definitely a circus, and one that I have monetized to great joy. DL1 for $2. Flat Earth is made by Nikon to sell more cameras. Yeah. You do know the P900 is a terrible camera, right?
Well, it looks all right to me when you measure
its pixel density is awful, man.
Of the moon work, you know what I mean? It looks really good.
I'm sure there's better cameras out there. So many more better cameras. For a similar price, honestly. Nikon, I actually think that Nikon started the Flat Earth movement to sell cameras.
Yeah. The old
Full
one.
Repair Shibakashi, $2. For Venti's sake, globe skepticism is diet Flerfism. Lord Luminous Pooh, $5. After Star Trek II, Ricardo Montalban had trouble finding work. No one hires ex-cans. Fuck off, Lord. Oh, sorry, he always sends me funny ones. He bought some land in Scotland, so he's actually a proper lord. If you own the smallest bit of land in Scotland, you're a lord. Jiffy Cones, $2. All real photos show a globe. Why is that, Cheesy?
Because they all look like cartoons, so You know what I mean? If you're trying to portray a globe, then you're not going to show anything else other than a globe.
I mean, I don't think this looks like a cartoon. I think that looks pretty damn real. Tim Tully, $10. Just questioning the globe so you don't have to make a positive claim that can be questioned. Pretty much standard for someone without your own evidence.
Right, I'm going to say, I'm just kind of thinking, are all these chats getting my cut? Hey, what's my cut?
I'll send people over to your channel. How about that? Because you do have some good music. By the way, where have you put all your music?
I'd rather not. Mate, I just get banned because they don't.
Yeah,
like
but where is your music at the moment? Because it's not on your channel.
I kind of be asked publishing it, if you know what I mean, because it's that corrupt and rigged that I don't think it's worthy.
I mean, I know that all your songs are kind of anti, globe stuff, but I think they're all quite funny.
Hey,
and have you ever thought about publishing it on Amazon or something?
It's not anti anything. I promise.
You know what I mean. It's like taking the piss out of Simon Danamy and stuff. But
yeah,
they are good. You're obviously a good musician. Have you ever thought about publishing your stuff on Amazon or something?
Yeah, look, right. I'm not taking the piss out of you or Simon Dan or Craig or Creaky or whatever. You know what I mean? I'm taking the piss out of the theories that are battling against each other. If you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's like hard jabs at us and stuff. But my point is that your music is actually quite funny and good to listen to, and I wish you would publish it somewhere, like on Amazon Music or Spotify or something.
I just don't like that. I don't like that kind of world of like money and shit. That's when it all starts to get serious and that. You know what I mean? So I just don't take it serious.
Fair enough.
You know what I mean? It's like I much prefer the internet, say 10 years ago when it was fun and all that kind of stuff. Like all of a sudden over the last 10 years, the internet's become like serious and all this kind of shit. What happened to just having a good old laugh on the internet? You know what I mean?
You've met
Why
humans,
so
right?
serious?
You have met other humans, right? Yeah.
Of course.
Zumi, who's been a member for 6 months, says the yellow shall rise. Long live the yellow. Green Lanterns would kick Yellow Lantern's ass all day. Get out. John Stuffle, £1, no message, thank you. Draco Fire, been a member for 23 months, says it's a film, shot on the film, physical film, actual film. It can't be CGI, it's on a physical film. But I don't think, we know. How do you think we got a picture like this on a physical film?
Which picture? I can't see it.
I'm not sure. Am I not showing it to you right now?
Nope.
Oh, why is it not going through?
Oh, sorry, I forget it anyway.
Okay. The pictures that we've got that were on physical film. We know they're on film.
I'm sure there is. Yes. Okay.
Talking Ape 199, 10,000 photos in the Flickr Apollo archive. Yeah, a lot of pictures of Earth. William Foley, $10. As an American taxpayer, I couldn't care less if Mr. Cheswick is impressed with NASA's pictures of our globe. Also, quit moving the goalpost, you silly Flerf. So there we go. There's the American taxpayer telling you they don't care if you're impressed.
Yeah, no, but there's other American taxpayers saying a different thing. My point is, who's right? That guy or that guy? There's a lot of people in the world saying a lot of things. You know what I mean? And this guy's saying he's true, and he's saying he's true, and he's saying he's true. I don't believe any of them, basically, you know what I mean?
Fair enough. Jiffy Clones, £2. What are Mr. Cheswick's beliefs on Earth's shape? You're just a globe skeptic, aren't you?
Yeah, or say globe skeptic stroke globe critic. You know what I mean?
Right, okay then. Jake the
Or,
Surgeon,
shape.
$5.
No idea.
It's definitely a globe. Jake the Surgeon, $5. Say it with me. If I show you the skeletons of a lion and tiger, could you tell the difference with just your eyes and a layman's knowledge?
No.
No, you couldn't. We need tools to determine that kind of stuff. Vincent Florquin, €199. Show him the Starlink pictures. Have you ever tried to have a look for Starlink going over your head?
No.
Get an app on your phone, and it'll tell you when Starlink satellites are going over you, and you can see satellites in space with your own eyes.
See, the problem is, mate, I've got a Sony Ericsson from like 2000 as my phone.
Ah.
So, unfortunately, but if I can see it in the real world,
you can probably just look at a browser on your computer, and you'll be able to find the information there, and then just look to see if it is there. Truth Nerds member for 24 months says, "Show me a real photograph of a Flerf's brain. Don't be silly, none exist." Tim Tully, $5. You can buy a cheaper telescope than a P900. Then you can see satellites from somewhere there is no light pollution with better resolution. Yeah, that goes back to my point that the P900 is a terrible camera for its price point. PhD Tony, $5 Australian. I can imagine NASA explaining to Congress, "We did joyrides to convince primary school dropouts the Earth's a sphere. Great use of public funds." Yeah, NASA don't care what you think. Andreas Eldritch, 26, says, "I'm very skeptical of Flat Earth because there's no real photos." And Gary Donnelly, has been a member for 24 months, says, "Another, I'm too dumb to understand, so it's not real." That's mean. Roby, $5. "We're past experiments, Craig. Now we just gauge what his actual level of standard is. Ask him about things that he does accept. Higher powers, please." Maybe next time
I'll accept anything that is I'd say anything that is able to be practically demonstrated in the real world. I'll accept that.
Cool. So the Cavendish experiment, then, brilliant.
Well, no, because it doesn't, in my head, back up its claim.
But it absolutely 100% does. I mean, Truth Nerds, €199 says, "Saying not impressed 100 times isn't a debate." James Webber, been a member for 3 months, says, "All evidence is against him. He's trolling for money and fame. He can go fall off the edge." No, Mr. Cheswick does not care about the money. I know that for a fact, because his channel never gets monetized. Ira Gwynn for £5. "We don't live on a globe. We are safe to assume that you will be the next person to go live and destroy Craig." And yeah, we don't live on a globe in the chat. Please send an email to fighttheflatearth@gmail.com and we'll get you on for a wee chat. King Edward V, you're slightly out of time there, for $5 says, "FTFE, is there a way we could chat about an observation that could shut the Flerfs up about seeing too far and saying there's no geometric horizon?" Email fighttheflatearth@gmail.com. Get me on Twitter @FTFEofficial, on Facebook, or send carrier pigeon or something. There's a million ways to contact me. Be glad to have a chat with you. Eon Dust for $10 Australian says, "Mr. Cheswick, this is a serious question, honey. Are you actually interested in any of this, or are you just hoping to use your own misunderstanding to feed your bias?"
No, as I say, if someone can disprove what I believe to be true, then I'll obviously accept that. For instance, let me give you an example. I'm not really like a religious person, but if someone came along and proved God, then I'd say, yeah, okay, cool, I accept that. Someone came along and proved gravity, yeah, I'll accept that. If someone can come along and they can talk to dead people, I'll accept that. If someone can prove there's aliens, I'll accept it. But the problem I have is that nobody brings anything what I'd call proof that they can do any of these fantastical claims. So it all seems like
except all the evidence.
I mean, this guy can talk to dead people. He's a psychic. He's this. She's the son of this. So this is why I treat it all as just a big circus. You know what I mean? As George Carlin kind of calls it, it's a freak show of freaks and weirdos and clowns and jugglers and all that kind of shit. You know what I mean?
I wish you would.
But beyond all that, right? Beyond all that is a realm of nobody's understanding, I think, and that's the shit that people try and theorize, and that's where I sort of draw the line. Is once they start to theorize beyond our level of understanding. I think man is too arrogant for its own kind. If you know what I mean?
Yeah, a lot of men are arrogant. Okay, Alison for $2 asks, "Why is all navigation based on a globe?" And he's a pilot that does navigation.
Sorry, go on.
He asks, "Why is all navigation based on a globe?"
Well, I don't really know much about navigation, but I've never seen a pilot take a globe into a cockpit.
I mean, every single calculation a pilot does is based on a globe because they use something called the Haversine formula, which literally includes the radius of Earth. They base all their calculations on the globe.
My understanding is that was based on a gyroscope that stays level.
A gyroscope is one instrument they use to help them navigate, but they plan their routes using the Haversine formula, which is based on a globe. Stringer News 1 for $5 says, stupidity is not a force, but it acts like a force. Yes, it fucking does. Lord Luminous Poo for $5. On the roundabout, you look out at the trees. On the earth, you look out at the stars. Points of reference. Do you understand that? What that means?
It means that we're back to looking at objects in the sky again, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Or just objects that aren't you, so you can tell if you're moving or not.
Well, I can't tell. As I say, I appear to be stationary.
Until you measure it or look at the stars.
And can disprove that. Then,
yeah, I showed you a bunch of measurements today that disprove that.
Stationary.
Yeah, I showed you a bunch of measurements today that disprove it, so all good, right?
No, that was in your opinion, you know what I mean? But
no, science doesn't care about opinion. The measurements, all the measurements that I showed you, all agree with each other and all say you're moving, so, you know.
Well, then I disagree with all that, and I'll choose to stick to my senses that say
that's
stationary.
An issue, then, if you're just ignoring the evidence, isn't it?
Oh, it's because I'm staying true to me senses and what they tell me. That's
senses are shite. Eon Dust, been a member for 12 months, says, a piece of advice, sweetie. The universe is complicated and under no obligation to be simple for you. Yep, I say that all the time.
I don't expect it to.
You'd love it to, you won't.
Also, at the same time, I don't expect other people to be able to work it all out and have all the answers nicely presented for you. I'm not buying that shit either.
Well, we've been studying it for a long time. PhD Tony for $5 says, if you use observations available 20,000 years ago, you come to 20,000-year-old conclusions. For accurate conclusions, you need accurate observations. Yeah, very, very true. Don't base what we know now on ancient civilizations. And thank you, Tony. It's great to see you here, bud. John Stuffle for £2 says, ask him what the internal angles of a triangle are. All right, Mr. Cheswick, if I have a triangle of sides 1, 1, and 1, what would the internal angles be?
I can't remember, but I think I've heard this one before. It was 1, yeah?
No.
Okay.
The triangle of 1, 1, and 1, what would the internal angles of the triangle be?
No idea, sorry.
There would be 60, 60, 60, add up to 180. 1, that's a good answer. Okay. Rocky Bixby for $5 says...
So does that prove the shape of the earth?
No, it's just a bit of an in-joke on the channel.
Okay.
Rocky Bixby says, if you rotate a ping pong ball, a basketball, or the size of the Earth 24 hours, which one is moving faster?
Well, it depends how fast it's spinning.
Well, if they're all doing one rotation in 24 hours, they're all spinning the same speed.
I'd say they're spinning at different speeds.
Well, no, because they're doing one rotation in 24 hours, which means they're all spinning at 15 degrees per hour. They've all got different tangential speeds, but that's not spinning. That's tangential.
Okay, then. So I tangentially can't see myself spinning.
Yeah, that's because tangentially isn't spinning. Good lord. Fogger Percy Pakashi, $2. Spatial disorientation, Flerf. Our senses are shit. Yes, they are. John Suffel, £5. In 2008, Liverpool was the UK city of culture. I wonder if they knew about Mr. Cheswick.
That was a good one.
Yeah,
the best one, yeah.
Rach Bot, hey Rach, how you doing? Nice to see you. Has been a member for 31 months. Says we don't spin at 1,000 miles per hour. We rotate at 0.000694 RPM. Please tell all the flat earthers that because they don't understand it. Neve Palpatine.
Told me that shit.
Neve Palpatine, who is the young niece of Emperor Palpatine, for $10 says, hey Craig, long-time watcher, first-time donator, this money is to buy ice packs for your head after the roundabout discussion. Never forget, there's something wrong with that laser. Yeah, Rad Vlad, classic.
It's like a fucking episode of Star Wars or something, Star Trek convention.
The Plot Hole, has been a member for 27 months, says, have him define theory, please. Do you know what theory means in the scientific term?
No, I don't actually.
Well, in science, theory means something very different to the colloquial usage of the word theory. In science,
Okay.
a theory contains all the knowledge and facts we have about something, and is, you know, what we say about something when we it's the closest to fact that we have. Like germ theory, music theory. You know, it doesn't mean that these things are a theory. They just contain all the knowledge we have about the thing. Does that make sense? So when in science we say theory, we don't mean it's a guess. We mean it's been verified.
Okay. And at what point does that become a fact?
Well, a theory contains all of the facts.
Okay, so at what point does that become true then?
Well, if it can be demonstrated to be true, then it's true. A theory just contains
so
all
if
of
it
our
can't be
knowledge.
demonstrated, then it's not true.
Well, yeah, but a theory would contain all the experiments and everything as well, which would show that it's true.
Yeah. So it can be demonstrated and it's true. If it can't be demonstrated, then it's not true.
Carl Sagan said, if it disagrees with experimentation, then it's wrong. Lord, thank you very much. Stringer News 1 as well. Great to see you here. Amazing support of the channel. Lord Luminous Pooh for $5 says, the Flerf reset is the moment you hit the cognitive dissonance. Yeah, always the case. Truth Nerds 199, stop trusting math and leave the internet, you clown. Mean. NA $6.66. So eyeballing is better than measuring, would you say, Mr. Cheswick?
Eyeballing is better than measuring? No, definitely not.
Yeah, because our senses are shite. Aaron Webster gave $5 but retracted his message. Thank you for that, Aaron. If you want that refunded, please just let me know. Jeffrey Sloan for $1. Thank you very much. Aaron Webster, $5.
Bloody hell.
I think that's the free thing you get when you're a member. Anyway, Aaron Webster, $5. If I'm building a house, I would be using tools to measure, not my senses. Therefore, our senses are not the best we have.
Okay, if you say so. Well, I'll still continue to use them.
Yeah, that's probably why you're not an engineer. NA for $6.66 says, if I send a super chat, I'll send a super chat if I want. You're not the boss of me. No, NA, you're not allowed to send super chats. Stop it. How dare you? Thank you very much, bud. Pylo1408, $5. Of course he's a technophobe. We need to make an anti-flat earth AI. It would be efficient and ironic. Artificial intelligence beating anti-intelligence. AI is great. I've been having a lot of fun with AI recently, including a couple of AI art apps. But I've downloaded an API, an AI that I have fed it all of my. I'm going to feed it all of my scripts for Flerfs for Idiots episodes, and I'm going to see if the AI can write an episode of Flerfs for Idiots for me, and I'll just record it and say whatever it says. I think that'd be hilarious. Near Cole, $10 says, glad to know I'm not the only one who thanks Alexa. Here's some money. And hail Sagan. Hail Sagan to you too. Thank you. Pat in the chat, who's been a member for 6 months, says, Mr. Cheswick, why do large numbers scare you so much? Do you check under your bed for them when you go to sleep?
I'm not scared of large numbers as long as they can be applied in the real world. If they can't, then hey, it's all pie in the sky to me.
Lord MC Defo 1 for $2. How does stage magic exist if senses are trustworthy? Yeah, sleight of hand is definitely a thing.
Yeah, but if you use all your senses in conjunction, you'll eventually work out it's a trick. You know what I mean? But if you rely on just your eyes, then you're not going to.
No, our senses are rubbish. Danny, $2, says, still waiting for his evidence. Hello there, Flerf. No, he didn't bring evidence. He brought questions. Come on, I've done this. I think this is maybe debate 649. I may have lost count a little. And out of those 649 debates, no flat earthers ever brought evidence. Unarmed Music for 100 Sex says he needed to hear simple things like you move with houses and trees and skyscrapers. It's like a bubble that moves and gravity sticks us down to earth. So if we move, only sky will appear to move. Did you understand that?
I don't even think the guy who wrote it understands it.
All right, he's trying to explain how it's all relative. If you're on a roundabout and you look at the roundabout, it's going to look like you're stationary. If you're looking at things in the distance, it's going to look like you're moving. Right, that's what he's saying. Tim Pryor, $5 says, tell him to point north and then point up. Then tell him to point south and then point down. So if you point north, are you pointing up?
Well, if you stand on a ball, yeah.
Well, on Earth, if we were standing on a ball, north and up wouldn't be the same thing. Up would be away from the surface of the Earth. North would be towards the North Pole.
Yeah, so north would always be up.
No. Up is away from the surface of the Earth.
Right, so, okay, well.
Hasking95, been a member for 5 months, says, why are these Flerfs so dumb? Self-answering question. Room 237 for $2 says, 2016 called it. It wants its flat Earth arguments back. Jeffrey Hollenbeck, $5 says, ask the Panama Canal if water level is the way Flerfs say it is. Yeah, did you know that the Panama Canal has different sea levels either side?
What's that due to?
Pressure, tides, heat of water. Just, it shows that water isn't always level.
So, not to do with gravity.
Well, gravity is what's keeping the water on Earth. So, Flat Out for $2 says, keep it flat because the flat Earth rules. You know it, Flat Out. Flat Out was in the very first video on my channel. Caucasian Sensation, who's been a member for 11 months, says, village idiot discovered World Wide Web and became dumber. Yeah, the internet was a problem with that. Got a few more super chats. Albes UA for $5 Canadian says, hey Craig, whatever happened to the Flerf who was going to fly from Santiago to Perth in May? Did he go? No. Well, he blocked me and refuses to answer questions about that challenge. So, you know, he owes me $1,000, but he won't give it. Marty Mad Scientist, $5 Canadian says, 93 billion light years isn't big. We're just very, 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 very tiny. Good show. He's kind of cute in a dead dog sort of way.
Fucking hell, man. Like,
harsh.
Where'd you get these from? Where'd you get these people from?
Oh, they love it. NA $6.66 says, FTFE, you're wrong. Some people are just dumb as fuck. Yeah, true. Tim Pryor, $5. Indoctrination is watching a YouTube video and believing it without using education to see if they are right. Yeah, that education is not indoctrination. Obi-Wan for $10. Please kindly go here and look through the thousands and thousands of photos of Earth and lots of other stuff from space. And then he's given me a link to pass to you, which I will do. Jake the Surgeon, $5.
We couldn't find them on Google or NASA.
Well, you would find this on Google if you search for the right thing. Jake the Surgeon for $5 says, no matter how much we evolve, we will always be human. There's no escaping your ancestry. This is a fundamental law of evolution. Let's not get into that argument right now because that's going a big rabbit hole. Lord Luminous Pooh, $2. We burn you all. Red Lanterns rise. Green Lanterns for life, bitch. NA $6.66. All the lanterns suck. Marvel rules. Get out. DC over Marvel any day. Tim Pryor, $5. Well, I'm not impressed with any flat Earth evidence. Oh wait, there is none because they all talk about the globe. Pat in the chat, $5 says, globe skeptic equals I don't have to provide evidence for the flat Earth. Jedi Master Patrick, $1, no message, thank you. And then flat out again, he says for $5, Mr. Cheswick, why don't you do any real experimentations like he does?
Because I'm not the one presenting the claim. There's a claim being presented to me. You know what I mean? So it's the...
Yeah, but you could test that claim.
As with them. Yeah, no, but if they want me to believe that what they say is true, then is there really a big problem if I choose not to? Like, you know, just the same way if a guy sort of says, like, you know, believe in, like, Jesus Christ, or believe in Allah, or believe in Buddha, Shiva, whoever. Like, is there such a big problem just because someone chooses not to?
No, but again, you could always test it for yourself.
Yeah, but you can't test like Shiva or Allah or...
Oh no, you can't test God. The God's
What do you mean?
unfalsifiable. You know, that's why I don't really argue about that. But you can test the globe.
Yeah, but you can't, because the globe
You
and
can.
God, to me, are just the same. But it is, but I can't...
But
go
you
to
can
space
test the
and all
globe,
this
you
kind of
can't
stuff and
taste God.
fly off for like 93 billion light years and all this kind of stuff. So it sounds like the two of them sound intertwined almost, as if the
Flat out,
religious institutions have corrupted the scientific institutions over the course of history. If you know what I mean.
Your fellow
And
flat
now it's
earther
become a
flat out
sort of,
says, Mr. Cheswick.
intertwined fucking, what's it called, Scientology. I think that is the religion of the future, Scientology. You hear it here first.
Flat out, your fellow flat earther says, Mr. Cheswick, we have to work harder, so stop being lazy. Lord of Luminous Pooh for $10 says, in brightest day or darkest night, it's not my problem, I'll be alright. No, because your name is worth the fight, but if I'm bored, then yeah, I might. Grey Lanterns of Apathy. Oh, good lord. Right, try and come up with an oath for Brown Lanterns. See if you can do that. Michael Hoy's $5. If the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour and the atmosphere not spinning, why isn't wind blowing at 1,000 miles an hour? But the atmosphere is spinning with the Earth. That's what I say. I think you may be confused there. Satan's Little Helper, $5. Why is there no measurable scale on a flat Earth model when it comes to how far something is, but there is a scale that worked great on the globe Earth? Mr. Cheswick, why is there no accurate flat Earth map?
I don't know, you know what I mean? But, like, you know, as I see it, there's no accurate flat Earth map and there's no accurate globe map. So,
I mean, there's definitely an accurate globe map. It's
my
called the
stance,
globe.
well, like, as I say, I disagree because the evidence that has been presented to me isn't very convincing when you compare it all. It just doesn't ring true. You know what I mean?
I've tested the globe measurements. They're definitely
okay. That's
correct.
Fair enough. You know what I mean? But like, to me, it just doesn't ring true, and that's it. So I choose to go with what my conclusion is after looking at both sides of it. You know what I mean? So I've studied that side. I've studied that side. So okay, I've heard your arguments and I've heard your arguments. Now I'm somewhere definitely not towards the globe, but more towards it being something else. But I couldn't tell you what it is.
Definitely a globe.
That's the honest answer.
Jake the Surgeon for $5 says, a theory is an explanation of a phenomenon unless you want to say cells aren't testable. Yeah. Another set of videos I've got that I'm setting up is about flat earth misconceptions, about things like the word theory and stuff. So look forward to that. Sir Little Wolf, been a member for 6 months, says, my poor wolf brain, I do apologise. Heat Shield for $2. Flat out was right. Dryer sheets. Truth Nerds 199. Panama Canal, Panama Canal, Panama Canal. Ha! I did it. Tim Pryor $5 says he seriously thinks pointing up towards the sky is the same as pointing north. Yeah, Mr. Cheswick, north isn't up. Please, if anything you take away from today, take away north isn't up and south isn't down.
Yeah, but to me, on a ball, north would be up.
That's a straw man.
You know, if you stuck to the land, you know what I mean, and you continued north, you should eventually end up at the top of the ball. That's my understanding of it.
At the north of the ball, not at the top.
Yeah, so you'd be heading north.
Yeah, not up.
Well, I'm not saying up. I'm saying you'd be heading north, and eventually you'd get to the top of the ball.
Well, you'd get to the north of the ball, not the top. Balls don't really have tops or bottoms.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. You'd be heading north.
Yeah, and that's fine, but it isn't up. So, Obi-Wan for $5 says, yes, I found them on Google. Google can be good. Albert SUA, $5 Canadian. Why do only Mercury and Venus ever cross the sun, Mr. Flerf?
No idea, mate. It's the sky is beyond my level of understanding.
It's
you know,
because they're inside
things
our
like everybody
orbit.
else can, but as to what the objects are or what they do, I've got no understanding of that. So, can't help you on that.
NA for $6.66 says, please admit that Tony Stark is smarter and better in every way than Bruce Wayne. No. Tony Stark is a broken alcoholic that you know, nearly destroyed the entire universe, but then sacrificed himself to not destroy it. Bruce Wayne could kick Tony Stark's ass. And last one, Tim Pryor for $5 says he doesn't do experiments because every time a flat earther has, they prove the globe. That's why they all stop doing it. Thank you. Guys, that's it. It's been amazing. A hell of a lot of super chats. Thank you very much. You know, I really do appreciate it. And if you are unable to support me with super chats and memberships, then please just do share what I do on Facebook and Twitter. Mr. Cheswick, thank you very much for coming for a chat. I've actually enjoyed this.
Yeah, like, you know, I have myself, mates, like, even though we come from opposing sides, you know, it's nice that we can have a kind of discussion without, like, firing shit across and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Because I've seen some other, like, debates where you've kind of acted like a bit of a schoolmaster kind of thing, you know.
Sometimes I have to.
Hoping that it wasn't going to... Well, I don't know, you know what I mean, but...
Yeah. Rule on my channel always has been, the guest decides how thing goes. So,
sounds fair, but it does
any final thoughts?
Feel a bit like as if you're coming into the lion's den kind of thing.
And I appreciate you doing that because, you know, most flat earthers seem terrified to actually come and talk to me. But thank you for taking the time. Thank you for coming, for asking the questions. Maybe I've helped you. Maybe it was pointless. Who knows?
Okay, well, can I put this to you before you go, right? Would you be prepared to do, say, a live show with, say, Del from Beyond the Imaginary Cave or Ethan Oakley or something like that? You know what I mean? So that
live, do you mean like in real life live? Or...
Well, like, you know, to me, like, these guys kind of know...
I mean, I've been on Oakley's channel twice. A lot better
than I do, you know what I mean? I sort of approach it from a very childlike thing, and based on my understanding and my own senses, this kind of stuff, but like these guys understand it far better than I do. I mean, so I think if you can put your claims that you put to me towards these kind of guys, then I think that these kind of guys would give you far better argumentation than I would. You know what I mean? So it would be interesting. I've
been on Oakley's channel twice and he booted me off twice. And I was on Del's channel once and he booted me off. But I'd gladly talk to any of them again. They're welcome to come on the channel.
Yeah, but would you go to their platforms is what
I mean, I've been to Oakley's twice, so if Oakley wants to talk to me, he has to come here. But I'd go to Del's again, if it let me.
Oh, yeah, well, you know, I think it'd be interesting to just see, like, you know, without all the fucking shouting and all that kind of stuff, and, like, you know, kind of like what we've
Oakley tonight, can't do debates without shouting.
Opposed, you know what I mean? We can still have a civil kind of chat, if you know what I mean? So if you picture it like a Catholic and a Protestant sitting down, or a fucking Liverpool fan and an Everton fan sitting down, they're both opposed, but at least you can still have a civil chat, if you know what I mean. That's what I'm into. I'm not into like fucking arguing and shit and all that kind of stuff. Like just normal people who have opposing views, but can have a chat and can agree to disagree at the end of it, if so, and then just walk away, say, look, I'm sorry, you know, that or this, or I'm sorry, you're talking shite because of that or this. You know what I mean? That's how I see it. You know what I mean? So
I mean, I'd gladly go and talk to them, but Oakley doesn't do debates. He just shouts at people. But I know you speak to Del, so have a word with Del for me, and I'll go and talk to Del.
Well, I don't really speak to Del because Del's like his own man kind of thing. But like, you know, Del's been saying for years for anybody to come to the shed and present all these fantastical claims, and nobody ever has. You know what I mean? So,
I mean, I did try, and he booted me off.
Yeah, but you didn't really come with anything, if you know what I mean.
I didn't even get past the what is science discussion before he booted me.
Yeah, because like you've got to establish certain things, haven't you, in a discussion that you both agree on before you can move on in the discussion, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I'll gladly go to him. Rick Schofield, yes, this is live. I don't know why people are saying this isn't live. Excuse me. 2 more super chats. Tim Pryor, $5. Let me simplify it. Tell him to point to the top of a basketball. If he doesn't get it after this, well, then I don't know. And then Tim Pryor, $5 says, you missed my last super check, damn it. No, I didn't. I was just getting there. But anyway, that's going to be it for tonight, guys. It's been going for 3.5 hours. It's time to go to bed. Mr. Cheswick, thank you for taking the time. I do appreciate it. Maybe we can have another chat sometime. I'd like to see you have a chat with MC2, and that'd be good.
Stay. Take it easy, folks. I'm questioning everything that you're told, not just the shape of the earth, everything. You know what I mean?
And here we have my outro music, which was written by Mr. Cheswick. Remember, guys,
no,
stupidity.
Wait, correction. It wasn't. I've told you this before, right? This.
I know, but you put it together.
Not written by me. This is a loop that I've took of an official artist. So technically, it's copyrighted. What you're playing.
I've run it through copyright. They think you changed it enough that it doesn't pick up on the copyright. So well, this is my outro. Diron DeBaron, member for 8 months, says, sorry I missed the whole thing, but I still love you. I love you too. I love all of you that have watched. Here's Mr. Cheswick with my outro. Remember, stupidity is not a right. Flight the flat earth. Fight the flat. 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 Fight the flat.
And you got the timing wrong as well in the beat. Fucked it up. Fight the flat. Fight the flat. It's out of time.
That's what you sent me.
Fight the flat. Fight the flat.
It's not.
Fight the flat. Fight the flat.
Good night, guys. Thanks very much.